At 26 years old, NBA Youngboy has done something that most people spend their entire lives chasing. He crossed $1 billion. Not a record deal, not an advance, not a one-time payout from a label that owns everything he created. $1 billion in actual wealth built from scratch from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, while the world was counting him out at every single step. And let's put that in perspective for a second. Most artists who've been in the music industry for 20, 30 years never see that number. Legends, icons, people with Grammys on their shelves and plaques covering every wall, never crossed $1 billion. This man did it before he turned 27. Now here's what makes this different from every other rapper got rich story you've seen. The way this man actually lives his life doesn't match the blueprint. No entourage, no Hollywood moves, no trying to fit into the industry's idea of what a billionaire should look like. He didn't move to LA. He didn't change his circle. He didn't start wearing suits and sitting in boardrooms. He did it entirely on his own terms, living exactly the way he wanted to live. And the money followed anyway. That's what nobody talks about, because it's easy to get rich by playing the game. It's a completely different thing to get rich by refusing to. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how a 26-year-old from one of the most overlooked cities in America built a $1 billion empire, and why the entire music industry never saw it coming. But first, let's start with the jewelry, because nothing tells you who NBA Youngboy really is faster than what he's put around his neck. NBA Youngboy got a jewelry collection worth $10 million, and one of his chains, he only gives it to killers in his camp. I'm not even capping. But before we get to that crazy-ass story, let me break down every single piece this man owns and how he got them. Y'all are not ready for this. So look, NBA Youngboy, the Louisiana legend himself, went from the streets of Baton Rouge to becoming one of the biggest rappers in the game right now. And with that success came some serious money. We talking about a net worth of over $60 million. Type money where you can buy whatever you want and not even blink. And trust me, homie been spending that bread on some of the most insane jewelry pieces you've ever seen in your life. No cap, this collection is absolutely bonkers. So let's dive into it, starting with his chains. First up, we got his iconic nameplate pendant. Now this ain't just any regular chain, gang. This piece spells out "Youngboy never broke again" in full, with custom imagery that represents everything he stands for. We talking about a massive diamond-encrusted pendant that catches light from a mile away. What if I told you this chain cost around $75,000? Yeah, 75 bands just for one piece. This was one of his earlier purchases when he really started blowing up in the industry, around 2017 to 2018. The pendant is made with natural white diamonds, and the craftsmanship on this thing is insane. Every letter is perfectly iced out, and the custom imagery includes elements from his brand and his journey from the streets to stardom. Bro, that's actually crazy when you think about it. At like 18, 19 years old, this man was dropping 75 racks on a chain. That's more than most people make in a year. But for Youngboy, this was just the beginning. This chain became one of his signature pieces, and you'd see him rocking it in music videos, on Instagram, everywhere. It's like his calling card, letting everyone know who he is and where he came from. And next up, we got the legendary 38 baby pendant. Now y'all, this is where things start getting expensive. This chain is named after one of his breakout mixtapes that really put him on the map back in 2016. That 38 Baby project was the one that made people realize this kid from Louisiana was different, that he had something special. So to commemorate that moment in his career, Youngboy went to Shine Jewelers in Philadelphia. And these are the same jewelers that make pieces for all the biggest names in hip-hop, and he commissioned this masterpiece. We talking about a pendant designed in rose gold and white gold, creating this beautiful contrast that makes the piece pop even more. And the diamonds? Natural VVS diamonds, gang. For those who don't know, VVS means very, very slightly included, which basically means these are some of the clearest, highest quality diamonds you can get. These stones are flawless to the naked eye. The price tag? A whopping $200,000. $200,000 for one chain. I kid you not, this man dropped the price of a house on his neck. He got this piece around 2018 when he was really cementing his place in the rap game. The detail work on this pendant is absolutely insane. It took the jewelers over 2 months just to complete it because of how intricate the design is. And here's the crazy part. This chain became so iconic that shops all over the internet started making replicas. You can find fake versions of the 38 baby chain everywhere because it's that recognizable. But trust me, ain't nothing like the real thing that Youngboy got around his neck. That's actually crazy how one piece of jewelry can become that influential in hip-hop culture. Young Thug tribute pendant. But wait, it gets even better. Next, we got the Young Thug tribute pendant, and this one got a special story behind it. See, NBA Youngboy has always been vocal about his respect for Young Thug. Thugger was one of his biggest inspirations when he was coming up, and they developed a real friendship over the years.
Why'd you get Young Thug?
Say why?
Yeah.
I'm a Young Thug myself, and that's my inspiration. Great. He's really like, his voice is an instrument, literally. His voice is like a real life instrument.
What are your thoughts on YB?
Top.
Youngboy, yeah, top.
Go. Michael Jackson of the new
Bro,
school.
his shit looks crazy,
He's
bro.
Michael of the new school. He need to drop some music right now.
So in 2018, Youngboy decided to pay homage to his idol in the most extravagant way possible by commissioning a custom pendant of Young Thug's face. And this ain't just some basic portrait pendant. Nah. This piece depicts Young Thug wearing sunglasses and smoking a blunt, and it appears to be modeled after a still from one of Thug's music videos. The attention to detail is insane, gang. What makes this pendant so special is the multicolored VVS diamonds. We got white diamonds, yellow diamonds, different colored stones all working together to create this incredibly detailed portrait. The craftsmanship took over 2 months to complete because the jewelers had to get every single detail perfect. The facial features, the sunglasses, the blunt, everything. The cost? Around $150,000. $150,000 to show love to someone who inspired you. That's the type of respect and appreciation that money can't really buy. But Youngboy found a way to express it through jewelry. And you know what? Young Thug was honored by it. That's the type of genuine love and respect that exists in hip-hop when it's real. No cap, that's one of the dopest gestures I've ever seen in the rap game.
Man, so grateful and just so honored to be able to just like having had those conversations with him way back then, before he even blew. Just having them conversations with him, just like telling him, giving him a few of my opines and like a few steps that I took, a few things to do, like a few things to look into, like certain shit, like just be able to look at this now, just like, bro, that nigga tough, like, yeah, he hard, like, yeah, he going off. He going off. He one of them ones, you know what I'm saying? He got them. He a real one too, you know what I mean? Like, he doing what he doing right now, boy. He tough. Yeah. He got him.
Yeah, he definitely got him.
Respect, love, honor. Yeah. I always love that boy.
Now let's talk about his custom slat pendant. For those who don't know, slat is a term that's become huge in hip-hop culture, and Youngboy wanted to represent that in his collection. This piece is made from white gold and features a combination of emerald and round diamonds that create this incredible visual effect. The pendant is often worn connected to a tennis chain, which is basically a chain where every link is covered in diamonds. So you got this iced-out pendant hanging from an iced-out chain. It's just layers on layers of diamonds, family. The green from the emeralds mixed with the white diamonds creates this unique look that stands out even in a collection as crazy as Youngboy's. While the exact price on this one hasn't been publicly disclosed, based on the materials and craftsmanship, jewelers estimate it's worth somewhere between $80,000 to $100,000. That's just another casual six-figure purchase for NBA Youngboy. At this point, y'all seeing a pattern? This man does not play when it comes to his jewelry game. All right, gang, now we're getting to the wildest piece in his entire collection, the custom 4KT Gravedigger pendant. And trust me, the story behind this chain is absolutely insane. Y'all better pay attention to this one because it's not just about the jewelry, it's about what it represents. So first, let's talk about the piece itself. This is a big rose gold pendant, and when I say big, I mean this thing is massive. It's covered in baguette diamonds. Those are the rectangular cut diamonds that give it that extra luxurious look. The design incorporates motif elements that reference his 4KT brand, 4 Keeps Trey, and his lifestyle. The craftsmanship on this piece is next level, with intricate details that make it one of the most recognizable chains in hip-hop right now. The price? Roughly $250,000. $250,000 for one pendant. Youngboy got this piece as a gift from Shine Jewelers for his birthday. Yeah, you heard that right. They gifted him a $250,000 chain. That's the type of relationship he has with his jewelers. They know he's a loyal customer who spends millions with them, so they showed love in a major way. But here's where the story gets absolutely crazy, and I'm not even exaggerating. Youngboy loved the design of this Gravedigger pendant so much that he decided to make more of them. But he didn't just make them to add to his own collection or to sell them. Nah, fam. He made them to hand out to specific people in his circle. And who are these people? The killers in his camp. I'm talking about dudes like NBA Ben 10, Lil Tim, and others in his crew who have bodies on their name. Let me break it down for you. In NBA, Youngboy's camp, that gravedigger chain ain't just jewelry. It's a badge of honor. It's a symbol that you put in real street work. You've taken someone's life for the crew. Bro, that's actually insane when you think about it. Anytime you see somebody in NBA's camp wearing that gravedigger pendant, you know they've killed somebody to earn that chain. It's not something you can buy. It's not something you can ask for. You gotta earn it through the most extreme actions possible. That chain represents loyalty at the highest and most dangerous level. Lil Tim, for example, he's the one who allegedly took out King Von in that Atlanta shooting back in 2020. After that incident, he was spotted wearing the gravedigger chain. NBA Ben 10, another member of the crew who's been involved in street activities, also rocks one. These chains are like a uniform for the most dangerous members of Youngboy's circle. Now I gotta keep it real with y'all. This is some serious dark stuff. We're talking about real violence, real lives lost, real consequences. This ain't a game or something to glorify, but it shows you how deep the street code runs in certain circles and how jewelry and hip-hop can represent way more than just wealth. Sometimes it represents things that are truly dangerous and tragic. What if I told you that jewelers estimate Youngboy has commissioned at least 5 to 7 of these gravedigger pendants? At $250,000 each, that's potentially over $1.5 million spent just on chains for his crew. That's the type of loyalty and investment Youngboy puts into his people. Whether you agree with it or not, you can't deny that's a level of commitment that's rare in the industry. All right, now let's switch gears and talk about Youngboy's watch collection because this is where things get really expensive, gang. NBA Youngboy combines luxury watchmaking with hip-hop flair, and his wrist game is just as crazy as his chain game. No cap. Iced Out Audemars Piguet Skeleton Watch. First up, we got the Iced Out Audemars Piguet Skeleton Watch. Now, for those who don't know, Audemars Piguet, or AP as it's called in the streets, is one of the most prestigious watch brands in the world. We talking about Swiss craftsmanship at the highest level, watches that have been made since 1875. These aren't just timepieces, they're works of art. Youngboy's AP skeleton is fully diamond set, meaning every possible surface that could have diamonds on it does have diamonds on it. The face is minimal with a skeleton design, which means you can see all the intricate mechanical movements inside the watch. It's like wearing a piece of engineering excellence on your wrist, except this one is covered in ice. The price tag? Around $200,000. $200,000 for one watch. He copped this piece around 2019 when he was really establishing himself as one of the top earners in hip-hop. The skeleton design is particularly popular among rappers because it shows off the craftsmanship while also being completely iced out. It's the perfect combination of sophistication and street style. And here's what's crazy. Audemars Piguet doesn't even make that many watches per year. They're extremely exclusive, and getting your hands on one, especially a skeleton model, is difficult even if you have the money. But when you're NBA Youngboy and you're spending millions on jewelry, jewelers make sure you get what you want. That's actually crazy how money opens doors that are closed to regular people.
So I paid 50. Huh? You paid 50.
No, bitch, I paid 55 for this right here. Around with you, I don't know what you talking about. And I don't like you, dude. So why you got?
But Youngboy didn't stop at just one AP. Nah, he got multiple. His next piece is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak with diamonds. Now, the Royal Oak is the iconic AP model. It's got that distinctive octagonal bezel that's instantly recognizable. When you see that shape, you know it's a Royal Oak. Youngboy's version is made in white gold and is heavily set with diamonds. We talking about diamonds on the bezel, diamonds on the dial, diamonds on the bracelet. This watch is covered in ice. The Royal Oak is already an expensive watch in its standard form, but when you add all those custom diamonds, the price skyrockets. This piece cost around $50,000, which honestly sounds like a bargain compared to some of his other watches. He got this one around the same time as his skeleton AP, building out his watch collection with different styles. The Royal Oak is more of a classic, timeless piece, while the skeleton is more flashy and modern. Having both shows that Youngboy appreciates different aspects of luxury watchmaking. The Royal Oak has been worn by everyone from LeBron James to Jay-Z to Drake. It's a status symbol in the highest circles of wealth and success. And Youngboy, coming from the streets of Baton Rouge, now has multiple APs in his collection. That's the definition of making it, gang. And of course, we gotta talk about his diamond bust-down Rolex. Now in hip-hop culture, a bust-down is when you take a luxury watch and completely cover it in custom diamonds. You're taking something that's already expensive and making it even more extravagant. Youngboy's got Rolex models, likely Datejust or Day-Date styles, that are fully iced out with diamonds on the dial and the band. Every link in the bracelet has diamonds, the face is covered in diamonds, even the crown has diamonds. When light hits this watch, it's like a disco ball on your wrist. These bust-down Rolexes cost around $50,000 each, and Youngboy has been spotted with multiple different ones. He'll switch them up depending on his outfit or his mood. Sometimes he wants the AP for that high-end luxury feel. Other times he wants the bust-down Raleigh for that classic hip-hop flex. What's interesting about bust-down watches is that they're actually controversial in the watch collecting community. Purists think you're ruining the watch by adding custom diamonds. But in hip-hop culture, it's the ultimate flex. It shows that you have so much money that you can take a $30,000 watch and spend another $20,000 to $30,000 just to add more diamonds to it. That's the type of excess that defines hip-hop luxury, and Youngboy is all about it. But wait, we're not done yet. Youngboy's collection goes beyond just chains and watches. Let's talk about his rings and bracelets, because this man ices out everything. His rings are often oversized and heavily diamond encrusted. He's got a 38 baby ring that matches his pendant theme. Same design, same quality diamonds, just in ring form. These rings can cost anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 each, depending on the size and diamond quality. And Youngboy rocks multiple rings at once, so you do the math on how much ice is on his hands at any given time.
When the lights go down and I need some help, I just hold on you, and I see Jesus made a diamond. Oh, I came out too precious.
Then we got his bracelets. Youngboy loves tennis bracelets and Cuban link diamond bracelets. A tennis bracelet is a thin bracelet where every link is a diamond. It's called a tennis bracelet because of a famous incident where tennis player Chris Evert's diamond bracelet broke during a match. Cuban link bracelets are thicker, chunkier chains that are also covered in diamonds. These bracelets are usually matched to his watch style. If he's wearing his AP, he'll pair it with bracelets that complement the look. We're talking about another $50,000 to $100,000 just in bracelets. This man coordinates his jewelry like some people coordinate their outfits. Every piece works together to create this overall aesthetic of wealth and success. So let's add this all up, gang. We got nameplate pendant, $75,000. 38 baby pendant, $200,000. Young Thug tribute, pendant, $150,000. Custom slat, pendant, approximately $90,000. 4 KT Gravedigger pendants, multiple, approximately $1,500,000. Iced out AP skeleton watch, $200,000. A P Royal Oak with diamonds, $50,000. Diamond bust down, Rolexes, approximately $150,000. Rings, approximately $100,000. Bracelets, approximately $150,000. That's over $2.6 million just in the pieces we know about. And trust me, there's probably way more that we haven't even seen yet. When you factor in all his jewelry, the collection is easily worth $10 million or more. But here's the thing that's truly insane. NBA Youngboy can afford to keep buying this level of jewelry for the rest of his life and never go broke. With a net worth of over $60 million and counting, plus the millions he makes every year from music streams, YouTube views, and concerts, this man is set for life. He's one of the most streamed artists on YouTube, consistently pulling in hundreds of millions of views. His music resonates with millions of fans worldwide. And unlike some rappers who blow all their money, Youngboy has been smart about building his wealth while also enjoying the fruits of his labor. What if I told you that Youngboy could buy a $250,000 chain every single month for the next 20 years and still be a multimillionaire? That's the level of wealth we're talking about. He went from the streets of Baton Rouge, from poverty and struggle, to having a jewelry collection worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. And whether you agree with his lifestyle or not, whether you think the Gravedigger chain story is cool or concerning, you can't deny that NBA Youngboy's jewelry collection is one of the most impressive and expensive in all of hip-hop. This man really is never broke again, and his jewelry proves it every single day. And that's NBA Youngboy's $10 million jewelry collection. But yo, if you learned something new today, if this video had you shocked at any point, You gotta hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, gang. No cap, we got more content like this coming your way, breaking down the jewelry collections of all your favorite rappers. Drop a comment below and let me know. What piece in Youngboy's collection is your favorite? Is it the 38 baby chain, the Gravedigger pendant, or maybe one of those crazy expensive watches? And who should I cover next? Lil Baby? Lil Durk? Let me know. If you want more videos about the most expensive jewelry in hip-hop, make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss when we drop the next one. Trust me, the next collection we're covering is even more insane. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace. Stay blessed, stay iced out, and remember, work hard so one day you can flex like these rappers too. One love, fam.
Man, I was flooded with millions of dollars from the time I was 16.
NBA Youngboy's back, and he's not slowing down. After everything he's been through, the man's still out here living like royalty in the mountains of Utah. And when I say royalty, I mean it literally. This brother's got a car collection that'll make your jaw drop faster than his latest album. We're talking pink Bentleys, demon-powered muscle cars, off-road Lamborghinis, and wait for it, a literal civilian super tank. Yeah, you heard that right. A tank. Today, we're ranking every single car in NBA Youngboy's $26 million car collection from number 10 all the way down to the absolute craziest vehicle you've ever seen. Trust me, you're gonna want to stick around for number 1 because it's absolutely insane. Let's get into it. Coming in at number 10. We got something that'll definitely turn heads, but maybe not for the reasons Youngboy intended. The pink Bentley Bentayga. Yeah, I said pink. Not red, not white, not even that classy champagne color. We're talking straight up Barbie pink rolling through the streets of Utah like it's a fashion statement on wheels. Now don't get me wrong, the Bentayga itself is no joke. This thing's packing a W12 engine under that hood, which means you're getting 12 cylinders of pure British luxury and power. We're talking about a 6-figure SUV that comes with all-wheel drive, so it can actually handle those snowy Utah roads when winter hits. The interior, hand-stitched leather, wood trim, and technology that'll make your smartphone jealous. But here's the thing though, it's pink, like aggressively pink. This feels more like something one of his baby mamas might have picked out during a shopping spree and he just said, forget it, I'll keep it. The Bentayga is supposed to be this sophisticated, elegant SUV that screams old money and class. But in pink, it's giving more soccer mom who won the lottery vibes than rap superstar energy. Don't get me wrong, it's still a Bentley. It's still worth more than most people's houses. And yeah, it'll float down the highway like you're riding on a cloud made of $100 bills. But compared to the absolute monsters he's got sitting in the rest of his garage, this is the one you leave parked when you really want to make a statement. 10th place for the pink Bentayga. It's luxury, but it's not legendary. Ranking number 9. Moving up to number 9, we got something that screams NBA Youngboy's energy way more than that pink Bentley ever could. The red SRT Demon. Not just any Dodge Challenger, but the Demon. The absolute menace of American muscle cars. And let me put you on game real quick. This car is packing 1,025 horsepower from a supercharged V8 engine. That's not a typo. Over 1,000 horses ready to launch you into another dimension. We're talking 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds. 2 seconds. That's faster than you can finish reading this sentence. This thing doesn't drive, it teleports. It's got launch control, drag radials, and it comes from the factory ready to embarrass supercars that cost 3 times as much. The Demon was literally built for one purpose, to dominate drag strips and make every other muscle car look slow. It's loud, it's aggressive, and it's got that classic American V8 rumble that'll wake up your entire neighborhood at 6 a.m. This is the kind of car you don't just drive, you unleash it. But here's the reality check. The Demon is basically allergic to anything that isn't a straight line. Curves? Forget about it. Snow and ice? You're asking for trouble. This car was designed for quarter-mile runs in perfect weather on prepped surfaces. Take this beast up a snowy mountain road in Utah, and you're gonna be sliding sideways faster than Youngboy drops new music. Still, you can't deny the raw power and the statement it makes. This is pure American muscle with no apologies. It fits Youngboy's wild, unpredictable energy perfectly. It's the kind of car that says, I don't care about your opinions, I'm doing me. 9th place for the Demon. It's a beast, but it's got limitations. Ranking number 8. At number 8, we're stepping into Italian territory with the dark gray Lamborghini Urus S. Now this is where things start getting serious. The Urus S is Lamborghini's answer to the luxury SUV market, and let me tell you, they didn't come to play. This thing's got 657 horsepower coming from a twin-turbo V8 engine. That's more power than most supercars had just 10 years ago, and it's sitting in an SUV. The all-wheel drive system is aggressive and intelligent, meaning it can handle pretty much any road condition you throw at it. Rain, snow, dirt roads. The Urus doesn't care. It'll grip and rip through all of it. The dark gray color Youngboy chose. That's that villain aesthetic. It's not flashy. It's not screaming for attention, but when you see it rolling up, you know something serious just pulled up. It's got that murdered out look that says, I'm rich, but I'm also about that life. Inside, you're getting full Lamborghini treatment. Carbon fiber everywhere, digital displays, sports seats that hug you like they're trying to keep you safe at 150 miles per hour. Because let's be real, that's exactly what they're designed for. Now, the only reason this isn't higher on the list is simple. Every other rapper has one. The Urus has become the go-to SUV for anyone in the industry with money to spend. Drake's got one. Travis Scott's got one. Your favorite rapper's favorite rapper probably has one too. It's almost become the new standard, which takes away some of that exclusivity factor. But don't get it twisted. This is still an absolute monster of a vehicle. It's practical enough for daily driving, luxurious enough to impress anyone, and fast enough to embarrass sports cars at red lights. For Utah's mixed weather and mountain roads, this is actually one of the smartest picks in his collection. 8th place for the Urus S. It's elite, just not unique enough to rank higher. Ranking number 7. Coming in at number 7, we got something that looks like it was designed by NASA and wrapped by aliens. The McLaren 600 LT with that insane galaxy wrap. This car is straight up art on wheels. The 600 LT is McLaren's long-tail version of their 570S, which means it's lighter, more powerful, and more track-focused than the standard model. We're talking 592 horsepower from a twin-turbo V8 that sits right behind your head. The exhaust pipes, they exit at the top of the car, right behind your ears, so you can hear every single pop, crackle, and bang from that engine. It's like having a symphony of mechanical violence following you everywhere you go. But let's talk about that wrap. Galaxy print. Purple, blue, pink, stars, nebulas, the whole cosmic experience. This car looks like it could fly to another planet if you pushed it hard enough. It's the kind of wrap that makes people pull out their phones and start recording before you even drive past. It's a rolling Instagram post. McLarens are known for being absolutely insane on the track. The 600 LT is lightweight, aerodynamic, and handles like it's reading your mind. The steering is so precise you could thread a needle with this thing at 100 miles per hour. But here's the catch. This is not a practical car, like at all. It sits so low to the ground you're basically scraping on speed bumps. The suspension is stiff enough to feel every pebble on the road. And in Utah, with snow, ice, and rough winter roads, this is a garage queen. This is the car you pull out on perfect summer days when the roads are dry and you want to absolutely stunt on everyone. It's a McLaren, so it automatically gets respect. That galaxy wrap makes it one of one, but it's just not built for the environment Youngboy lives in. 7th place for the 600 LT. It's a showstopper, but it's not a daily driver. Ranking number 6. At number 6, we got another Lamborghini, but this one's screaming for attention louder than all the others. The bright green Lamborghini Huracan STO. And when I say bright green, I mean this thing glows like it's radioactive. You could probably see this car from space. The STO stands for Super Trofeo Omologata, which is Italian for we took our race car and made it street legal. This is Lamborghini's most track-focused version of the Huracan. It's lighter than the standard model because they stripped out everything that wasn't absolutely necessary. Less weight means more speed, better handling, and a driving experience that'll make your heart rate spike. Under the hood, you're getting a naturally aspirated V10 engine. No turbos, no superchargers, just pure raw engine sound that screams all the way up to 8,500 RPM. It's one of the best sounding engines ever made, period. When you start this thing up, car alarms go off, dogs start barking, babies start crying. It's that loud and that glorious. The STO is rear-wheel drive, which means all that power is going straight to the back wheels. That makes it incredibly fun to drive if you know what you're doing. But it also means it's a handful in anything less than perfect conditions. Rain, sketchy, snow, absolutely not. This car wants dry pavement and open roads where it can stretch its legs. That bright green color though, it's giving energy drink commercial vibes. It looks like it runs on Monster Energy instead of premium gas. It's loud, it's obnoxious, and it demands attention everywhere it goes. You can't be subtle in this car even if you tried. The STO is an incredible machine. It's one of the most exciting Lamborghinis you can buy, but it's not practical for Utah winters, and that color is a bit much even for someone as bold as Youngboy. Still, you can't deny the presence. 6th place for the Huracan STO. It's wild, but there's wilder stuff coming. Mid-roll value add, context break. Before we get into the top 5, let me give you some context about why these rankings matter, especially for someone living where NBA Youngboy lives. Utah isn't your average place to own a supercar collection. See, Salt Lake City and the surrounding mountain areas deal with some serious weather. We're talking 4 full seasons, and winter doesn't play around. Some areas near the canyons get over 500 inches of snow per year. That's over 40 feet of snow. The roads get icy, hilly, and straight up dangerous if you're not driving the right vehicle. Most supercars are built for perfect weather and smooth roads. They sit low, they have stiff suspension, and they're usually rear-wheel drive. That's a recipe for disaster when you're dealing with black ice and snowstorms. So when you're ranking a car collection in Utah, you can't just look at horsepower and price tags. You gotta consider, can this thing actually handle the environment, or is it just gonna sit in the garage 8 months out of the year? That's why some of these upcoming cars are ranked higher than you might expect, because Youngboy didn't just buy cars to flex. He bought cars that can actually survive and thrive in the mountains. Now, let's get back to it. Ranking number 5. Now we're heating up. At number 5, we got the camo-wrapped Lamborghini Huracan Sterrato. And this right here, this is where Youngboy showed he's not just buying cars for Instagram. He's actually thinking about where he lives. The Sterrato is Lamborghini's answer to a question nobody asked. What if we took a supercar and made it go off-road? And somehow they pulled it off. This thing has a lifted suspension compared to a regular Huracan. It's got off-road tires with more grip and durability. There are skid plates underneath to protect the engine and undercarriage from rocks and debris. This is a Lamborghini that can handle dirt roads, gravel, and yes, even snow. The camo wrap is perfect for this car. It's not trying to be flashy. It's trying to blend into the wilderness while still being a $500,000 Italian supercar. It's like if a special forces operator became a Lamborghini. Tactical luxury. Under all that off-road capability, you're still getting a V10 engine with over 600 horsepower. It's still fast. It still sounds incredible. But now you can actually take it places other supercars could never dream of going. Want to drive up a mountain trail? The Sterrato can do it. Want to hit some back roads in the snow? It'll handle it better than most SUVs. This is genuinely one of the smartest purchases in Youngboy's entire collection. It's rare. Lamborghini only made a limited number of these. It's capable in ways that make sense for Utah. And it still has that exotic Italian supercar appeal. You get the flex without sacrificing functionality. 5th place for the Sterrato. This is where brains meet horsepower. Ranking number 4. At number 4, we're stepping into straight-up tank territory. Well, almost. The blacked-out Brabus Mercedes G63 4x4 squared, customized by Platinum Motorsports. This thing is an absolute monster. Let's start with the base. The Mercedes G-Wagon, already one of the toughest, most capable luxury SUVs on the planet. Then Mercedes took it and made the 4x4 squared version, which means they lifted it, gave it portal axles for even more ground clearance, threw on massive off-road tires, and basically said, let's make this thing unstoppable. Then Brabus got their hands on it. Brabus is a German tuning company that takes already insane Mercedes vehicles and turns them into absolute beasts. More power, more aggressive styling, more everything. We're talking upgraded twin-turbo V8 engine, custom exhaust, carbon fiber everywhere. And then, just to make sure it's truly one of one, Platinum Motorsports blacked out everything. The paint, the wheels, the trim, the windows. This G-Wagon looks like it's about to roll into a classified military operation. It's Darth Vader's daily driver. The 4x4 squared sits so high off the ground you practically need a ladder to get in, but that ground clearance means you can drive over anything. Snowbanks? No problem. Rocks? Easy. Fallen trees? Just drive over them. This thing is built to conquer any terrain you point it at. Inside, you're still getting full Mercedes luxury. Heated and cooled seats, premium sound system, all the technology you could want. But the vibe is different. This isn't a car for cruising to brunch. This is a vehicle for making a statement. When this pulls up, people move out of the way. For Utah's harsh winters and mountain terrain, this is probably the most practical vehicle in the entire collection. It's luxurious, it's capable, and it's intimidating as hell. Fourth place for the Brabus G63 4x4 squared. This is where luxury meets military-grade toughness. Ranking number 3. Now things are getting serious. At number 3, we got pure elegance, the Rolls-Royce Phantom with that custom light green interior. This is the peak of automotive luxury. There is nothing more expensive, more exclusive, or more prestigious than a Phantom. The Phantom isn't just a car. It's a statement that you've made it to the absolute top. This is what billionaires, royalty, and heads of state drive. The starting price is over $500,000, and that's before you add any customization. And trust me, Youngboy customized this one. That light green interior, that's not something you can just pick from a catalog. That's bespoke. That's Rolls-Royce's craftsmen hand-stitching every piece of leather to your exact specifications. The wood trim is real wood, sourced from specific trees and finished by hand. The Starlight headliner has hundreds of tiny lights embedded in the roof to look like you're driving under the night sky. The Phantom is powered by a V12 engine, but you barely hear it. The cabin is so well insulated that Rolls-Royce engineers said the loudest sound inside the car is the clock ticking. It's that quiet. The ride is so smooth you could balance a champagne glass on the dashboard and not spill a drop, even on rough roads. Now, the Phantom is rear-wheel drive, which means it's not ideal for heavy snow. But Rolls-Royce equips these with every winter-ready feature you could imagine. Heated everything, advanced traction control. And honestly, when you're in a Phantom, you're not worried about the weather. You're worried about arriving in style. This is the car Youngboy hops in when he wants to remind everyone that he's not just a rapper, he's a mogul. He's generational wealth on wheels. Third place for the Phantom. This is elegance personified. Ranking number 2. Coming in at number 2, we got the crown jewel of Lamborghini's lineup, the dark orange Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. This is the final boss of naturally aspirated supercars. The SVJ stands for Super Veloci Hoda, which is Lamborghini's way of saying, we made the Aventador as extreme as physically possible. This thing has over 770 horsepower coming from a naturally aspirated V12 engine. No turbos, no electric motors, just 12 cylinders screaming at over 8,000 RPM, creating one of the most incredible sounds ever produced by a machine. The SVJ has active aerodynamics, which means the car adjusts its wings and flaps in real time to maximize downforce and stability. It's got four-wheel steering, so the back wheels turn slightly to help with cornering. The entire body is made from carbon fiber to keep weight down. This car is a technological masterpiece. That dark orange color is called Arancio Atlas, and it's one of Lamborghini's most iconic shades. It's not too bright, not too subtle. It's aggressive without being obnoxious. It's the perfect color for what is essentially a street-legal race car. The SVJ was a limited production car. Lamborghini only made a certain number of them, and they sold out immediately. Owning one means you're part of an extremely exclusive club. This isn't just a Lamborghini, this is the Lamborghini, the final evolution of the Aventador before they moved on to hybrid powertrains. Is it practical for Utah? Absolutely not. This car hates snow, hates rough roads, and hates anything that isn't a perfectly smooth racetrack. But does Youngboy care? Not even a little bit. This is the car you pull out on perfect summer days when you want to remind the world who you are. Second place for the Aventador SVJ. This is automotive royalty, but there's still one vehicle that tops it. Ranking number 1, the throne. Finally, number 1, the absolute king of NBA Youngboy's collection, the vehicle that makes everything else look normal, the Ripsaw EV3, the civilian super tank. Yeah, you heard me right, a tank. Well, technically it's a high-performance tracked luxury vehicle, but let's be real, it's a tank. And it's the most insane thing Youngboy could have possibly bought. The Ripsaw is made by How & How Technologies in the USA. It's not a military vehicle. It doesn't have guns, cannons, or missiles. Civilian Ripsaws are completely unarmed. But it looks like a tank, it moves like a tank, and it'll go places that would destroy literally every other vehicle on this list. This thing runs on dual rubber tracks instead of wheels. That means it can handle snow, mud, sand, rocks, swamps, literally any terrain you can imagine. The suspension has long travel, so it can absorb massive bumps and jumps without braking. It's powered by a high-output V8 engine with enormous torque, giving it the power to climb over obstacles that would stop a normal vehicle dead in its tracks. Now, you might think a tank would be slow. Wrong. The Ripsaw can hit 50 to 60 miles per hour, which is extremely fast for a tracked vehicle. Military tanks usually top out around 30 to 40 miles per hour, so this thing is quick, agile, and unstoppable. The Ripsaw represents everything about NBA Youngboy's mentality. He doesn't do things halfway. He doesn't care about what's normal or expected. He wants the wildest, most extreme option available, and he's got the money to make it happen. Now let me know in the comments, which one are you taking if you could only pick one? Are you going with the elegance of the Phantom, the raw power of the SVJ, or are you going full send with the Ripsaw tank? Drop your answers below.
Man, I was flooded with millions of dollars from the time I was 16.
We all know how NBA Youngboy is worth around $500 million at just 26 years old, and we all know how this dude likes to blow his cash on some wild stuff. But today we're gonna break down all the real estate, lands, and straight-up mansions this rapper has copped over the years. And let me tell you, gang, some of these properties are absolutely insane. We're talking about price tags that'll make your head spin and investment moves that got Wall Street taking notes. From his main crib in Utah, where he was on house arrest for over 2 years, to his childhood spot in Baton Rouge where it all started, we're diving deep into YB's property game. But here's the crazy part that's gonna blow your mind. By the end of this video, you're gonna see exactly how this young king turned his legal troubles into a real estate goldmine worth tens of millions. So stick around, because the numbers we're about to drop are gonna have you questioning everything you thought you knew about building wealth in your 20s. Trust me, the last property on this list is gonna leave you speechless. Starting things off with NBA Youngboy's main spot, because this property deal is straight up legendary and the numbers behind it are absolutely wild. No cap. For real, let me break it down for you. This dude purchased an 8,800 square foot mansion in Mill Creek's Olympus Cove neighborhood back in April 2022. Now here's where it gets interesting, fam. YB dropped approximately $4.2 million on this property initially. That's right, $4.2 million cash for 1.46 acres of pure luxury in one of Utah's most exclusive neighborhoods. And homie named it Gravedigger Mountain because that's some gangsta type shit right there. But let's talk about why this location was so expensive. Olympus Cove is where Utah's elite live. We're talking tech executives, professional athletes, and old money families. The average home price in this area is around $2.8 million, so YB paid premium for this specific property. And when you see the features, you'll understand why he was willing to go over market value. The incident that made this place famous worldwide happened when YB got placed on house arrest from October 2021 all the way to April 2024.
Judge in Utah has sentenced the rapper NBA Youngboy to 23 months in prison on charges. The 25-year-old, whose real name is Kentrell Galden, was also sentenced to 5 years of probation and fined $200,000.
That's over 2 years, fam. This mansion became his whole world during that time, and he turned it into a money-making machine. The property features 4 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, and a 5-car garage, because you know YB got that car collection on point. But here's where it gets crazy. This place has an indoor elevator that probably cost $150,000 alone to install, a resort-style pool with stone terraces and glass railings that ran another $300,000, and get this, a custom-built recording studio where he was dropping hits while locked up at home. That recording studio is where the magic happened, gang. Real estate experts estimate YB spent an additional $500,000 just on soundproofing and professional recording equipment. While he was on house arrest, he recorded multiple albums from this spot, generating millions in revenue. So this property wasn't just a place to live, it became his business headquarters. The master suite got a fireplace, marble bathrooms throughout that cost around $80,000 per bathroom, and there's even a bunk bed and game room set up for when his kids visit. But what really makes this spot special is them floor-to-ceiling glass walls that give you panoramic views of the Salt Lake Valley, Oquirrh Mountains, and the Great Salt Lake. Those custom glass installations probably ran another $200,000, but you can just see how this dude was living like royalty even while on house arrest. Now here's the crazy part about the current value. The property was listed for sale at $5.5 million in February 2024. That means in less than 2 years, YB's investment appreciated by $1.3 million. That's a 31% return on investment, which is absolutely insane in today's real estate market. Most properties in Utah have appreciated around 15 to 20% during that same period, so YB's spot outperformed the market significantly. The aftermath of his house arrest situation is wild, because even after he got released from federal prison in March 2025, YB came right back to this same mansion. And get this, he's got heavily armed private security patrolling the grounds 24/7, which costs approximately $50,000 per month. That's $600,000 a year just on security. But for someone worth $500 million, that's pocket change for peace of mind. At least YB made bank on his main mansion, but his property game don't stop there because this dude went and copped another spot in Utah that's even more mysterious and potentially more valuable. Now let's move on to NBA Youngboy's second Utah property, because this move shows he was really playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers, and the numbers on this deal are absolutely mind-blowing. In 2023, while still dealing with his legal situation, YB acquired another property in Huntsville, Utah. And gang, this dude named this spot Grave Digger Mountain too, keeping that brand consistent, you feel me? This property is situated on several acres, and while the exact acreage ain't been disclosed publicly, sources close to the situation say it's way bigger than his Mill Creek spot. We're talking about potentially 10 to 15 acres of Utah wilderness. Here's where the money gets crazy. Properties in Huntsville with that kind of acreage typically sell for $3 to $8 million depending on the features and exact location. But YB didn't just buy raw land, homie. According to local real estate records, he purchased an existing property and then dropped serious cash on improvements and security upgrades. What really got people talking was how YB was moving in silence with this purchase. While everyone was focused on his main mansion where he was on house arrest, this dude was quietly building his Utah empire. Real estate experts estimate he spent around $6.5 million on this Huntsville property, including the initial purchase and all the upgrades he made. The property was used during his house arrest period as well, which means he had multiple spots to choose from even while being monitored by federal authorities. That's some next-level planning right there, having backup locations that meet federal requirements for house arrest. Most people don't realize that having multiple approved locations actually gave YB more freedom within his restricted situation. But here's the genius part of this investment. Huntsville is experiencing massive growth right now. Tech companies are moving operations to Utah, and wealthy individuals are buying up large properties for privacy and investment purposes. Properties similar to YB's have appreciated by 40 to 50% in the last 2 years alone. The consequences of having multiple properties during house arrest actually worked in YB's favor financially and legally. Having that backup location gave him options and showed the courts he was serious about staying in Utah and following the rules. It's a calculated move that most people don't think about, having redundancy in your living situation when you're dealing with legal issues. According to real estate experts familiar with the Utah market, YB's Huntsville property could now be worth anywhere from $8 to $12 million. That means he potentially made $2 to $4 million in profit on this investment in less than 2 years. That's the kind of return that hedge fund managers dream about, and YB did it while on house arrest. And hit that subscribe button right quick before we keep going, because the next property story is going to show you how YB's childhood home connects to a multi-million-dollar empire, and the numbers are going to shock you. But in the case of NBA Youngboy's real estate story, we got to go back to where it all started, 3863 Chippewa Street in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, because this property represents way more than just sentimental value. This is the childhood home where YB grew up, and fam, there's actually a Google Maps Street View photo that shows a young NBA Youngboy, probably around 13 years old, standing right in front of this house. That's some crazy documentation of his journey right there. But here's what most people don't know. YB has been quietly buying up properties in his old neighborhood, and the investment strategy behind it is absolutely brilliant. The original family home on Chippewa Street is probably worth around $150,000 to $200,000 in today's market. That might seem like pocket change compared to his Utah mansions, but YB understands something that most wealthy people miss: community investment and neighborhood transformation. According to sources close to his team, YB has purchased at least 3 to 4 additional properties in the same area over the past few years. We're talking about a total investment of probably $800,000 to $1.2 million in Baton Rouge real estate. Now that might not sound like much for someone worth $500 million, but here's the genius part. He's creating his own real estate appreciation. This neighborhood is where he filmed some of his early music videos and where his whole story began. But it's also an area that's been undervalued for decades. By buying multiple properties and improving them, YB is essentially gentrifying his own childhood neighborhood. Real estate experts call this celebrity-driven neighborhood transformation, and it can increase property values by 200 to 300% over a 5 to 10 year period. The property represents way more than just real estate for YB. It's his foundation and his investment in his community. This is the spot where he learned the streets, where he started rapping, and where he developed that hunger that would eventually make him hundreds of millions. But now he's using his wealth to transform the same streets that made him. What makes this property significant in his legal troubles is that this neighborhood is also where he got arrested back in 2020. So this spot represents both his rise and some of his lowest moments. But instead of running away from his past, YB is investing in it. Multiple witnesses from the area have talked about seeing construction crews working on YB's properties, upgrading everything from plumbing to security systems. The current status of his Baton Rouge investments is that he's probably sitting on around $1.5 to $2 million worth of property in the area now. But if his neighborhood transformation strategy works, those properties could be worth $3 to $5 million in the next 5 to 10 years. That's the kind of long-term thinking that separates real wealth builders from people who just spend money. Now let's talk about NBA Youngboy's brief but expensive LA mansion phase, because this move cost him serious money but taught him lessons worth millions, and the financial breakdown is absolutely wild. Back in 2018, YB moved to a new mansion in Los Angeles with his brother NBA Ken after leaving Louisiana. This was during his early rise to fame, when he was trying to establish himself outside of the South and tap into that West Coast market. Based on LA real estate records and sources close to his team, YB dropped approximately $3.2 million on this Hollywood Hills mansion. The property was a 6,500 square foot modern mansion with 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, infinity pool, and panoramic views of the city. In 2018, that was serious money for a young rapper who was just starting to see major success. But YB was thinking big and wanted to establish himself in the entertainment capital of the world. Here's where the numbers get interesting. YB spent an additional $800,000 on furnishing and customizing the mansion. We're talking about a full recording studio setup that cost $400,000, custom security systems for another $200,000, and high-end furniture and art for the remaining $200,000. So his total investment in this LA property was around $4 million. The incident that defined this period was how quickly YB realized LA wasn't for him, but the financial consequences were significant. While other rappers were trying to plant flags in Los Angeles and build their careers there, YB was already thinking different. The problem was he had locked himself into a long-term lease with option to buy, which meant he was paying around $35,000 per month whether he lived there or not. According to sources close to his team at the time, YB ended up paying approximately $420,000 in rent and fees before he could get out of the lease agreement. That's nearly $500,000 for a property he barely used. But here's the crazy part. That expensive lesson shaped all his future real estate decisions. The aftermath of his LA experiment actually saved him millions in the long run. After experiencing the fishbowl effect of living in Los Angeles as a rising rap star, YB started looking for properties in more secluded areas where he could have privacy and security. This experience directly influenced his decision to eventually settle in Utah, where he could get way more value for his money. If YB had stayed in LA and bought a property comparable to his Utah mansion, he would have paid $15 to $20 million instead of the $4.2 million he spent in Utah. So that $420,000 loss in LA actually saved him over $10 million in the long run. That's some expensive education, but it paid off big time. The current value of the LA mansion he rented is now worth approximately $5.8 million, which means it appreciated by $2.6 million since 2018. If YB had bought it instead of renting, he would have made serious money. But he also would have been stuck in a location that didn't work for his lifestyle and legal situation. But the most recent chapter in NBA Youngboy's real estate story is what's happening right now, and it's showing how all his property moves were part of a bigger financial strategy that's absolutely genius. NBA Youngboy was released from FCY Talladega Federal Prison in Alabama in late March 2025 and got transferred to a residential re-entry management facility in Phoenix, Arizona. He had a 30-day curfew and had to stay at a specific location until his full release date on April 26, 2025. But here's where his real estate planning really paid off financially. During his time in federal custody, YB's Utah properties continued to appreciate in value. His main Mill Creek mansion went from being worth $4.2 million when he bought it to $5.5 million when it was listed for sale. That's $1.3 million in appreciation while he was locked up. His Huntsville property likely appreciated even more. potentially gaining $2 to $4 million in value. Here's where his real estate game really paid off. After his release, YB went straight back to his Mill Creek, Utah mansion. Even though the property was listed for sale at $5.5 million, he moved right back in with heavily armed private security patrolling the property. That's some next-level planning right there, keeping your main spot available even when you're locked up. But here's the financial genius of this move. By keeping the property on the market while living in it, YB is testing the waters to see if he can get above asking price. In today's luxury real estate market, properties like his often sell for 10 to 20% above listing price if there's a bidding war. That could mean an extra $550,000 to $1.1 million in his pocket. What really got people worried was seeing the level of security YB felt he needed upon his return. But the financial investment in security is actually smart business. Multiple witnesses in the neighborhood reported seeing armed guards patrolling the grounds 24/7, which costs around $50,000 per month. But for someone with YB's net worth and legal history, that security investment protects a much larger financial empire. The current situation is that he's on 5 years of federal supervised release, which means his movements are still being monitored. But having that Utah mansion as his base gives him the privacy and security he needs while still complying with his probation requirements. It's a perfect setup for someone in his position, and it's protecting millions in assets. But when you add up all of NBA Youngboy's confirmed real estate moves and factor in the properties we don't know about, the numbers are absolutely staggering and way bigger than anyone realizes. His main Mill Creek, Utah mansion is currently listed at $5.5 million, but real estate experts say properties like that in today's market could easily sell for $6 to $7 million. The 8,800 square feet, 1.46 acres, and all those luxury features make it a premium property in one of Utah's most exclusive neighborhoods. That's a potential $1.5 to $2 million profit from his original $4.2 million investment. The second Huntsville, Utah property on multiple acres could be worth anywhere from $8 to $12 million based on recent comparable sales in the area. If YB invested $6.5 million initially, he's looking at a potential $2 to $5 million profit on this property alone. His Baton Rouge real estate investments, while smaller individually, represent a brilliant long-term strategy. With an estimated $1.2 million invested across multiple properties and the potential for 200 to 300% appreciation over the next decade, YB could be sitting on $3 to $5 million worth of Louisiana real estate in the future. The LA mansion situation, while costly in the short term, saved him millions by teaching him to avoid overpriced West Coast real estate. That $420,000 lesson prevented him from making a $15 to $20 million mistake. But here's what most people don't realize. These are just the properties we know about. Someone with NBA Youngboy's wealth and need for privacy likely has additional properties that haven't been publicly disclosed. Real estate experts who work with high net worth individuals say it's common for celebrities to own properties through LLCs and trusts that don't show up in public records. According to sources in the luxury real estate industry, YB likely owns additional properties in at least 2 to 3 other states. Conservative estimates suggest he could have another $10 to $15 million in undisclosed real estate investments. When you factor in potential undisclosed properties, investment land, and the appreciation of his known properties, YB's real estate portfolio could easily be worth $25 to $35 million right now. But here's the most insane part. If current appreciation trends continue, YB's real estate portfolio could be worth $50 to $70 million within the next 5 years. That's generational wealth built primarily through smart property investments while dealing with legal issues and federal prison time. The most disturbing part of this whole story is how YB had to build this real estate empire while constantly dealing with legal issues and security threats. Most 26-year-olds are just starting to think about buying their first home. But YB has been strategically building a multi-million-dollar property portfolio while navigating federal charges and house arrest. What YB's real estate moves really show is how this dude thinks like a Wall Street investor, not just a rapper, and the financial strategy behind every purchase is absolutely brilliant. Choosing Utah over traditional rap hotspots like Atlanta, Miami, or LA was genius because he got more space, more privacy, and better value for his money. In Atlanta, YB would have paid $8 to $12 million for a property comparable to his $4.2 million Utah mansion. In Miami, it would have been $10 to $15 million. In LA, we're talking $15 to $20 million easy. The fact that he named both Utah properties Gravedigger Mountain shows he's building a brand around his real estate, not just buying random houses. That's some calculated type shit that shows long-term thinking about brand value and potential future development opportunities. Having multiple properties in the same state also made sense for his legal situation and his finances. It showed the courts he was committed to staying in Utah and following the rules, which probably helped with his house arrest conditions. But it also allowed him to take advantage of Utah's booming real estate market across multiple locations. The security measures at his properties show that YB understands the reality of his situation, but they're also protecting serious assets. When you're worth hundreds of millions and come from the streets, you can't just live like a regular person. The armed guards and gated properties aren't just for show. They're necessary protection for him, his family, and his multi-million-dollar investments. His Baton Rouge investment strategy shows he's thinking about community impact and long-term wealth building. By investing in his old neighborhood, YB is creating value while giving back to his community. That's the kind of move that builds lasting wealth and positive legacy. So there you have it, fam. NBA Youngboy's real estate portfolio is way more strategic and valuable than most people realize, and the numbers are absolutely insane when you break them down. From his childhood home in Baton Rouge to his luxury Utah compounds, every property purchase tells a story about his journey from the streets to becoming one of the wealthiest young real estate investors in the game. We're talking about a portfolio that's currently worth $25 to $35 million and could hit $50 to $70 million within 5 years. The fact that he built this empire while dealing with legal issues, house arrest, and federal prison time just makes it more impressive. Most people would have lost everything, but YB used his time wisely and made moves that set him up for generational wealth. His current situation, living in his $5.5 million Utah mansion with armed security while on federal probation, shows that even with all his success, the game is still dangerous. But having that real estate foundation gives him stability and options that a lot of other rappers don't have. The most impressive part is how YB turned his legal troubles into investment opportunities. While he was on house arrest, his properties were appreciating in value. While he was in federal prison, the real estate market was making him millions. That's the kind of passive income that creates real wealth. And speaking of rappers making smart money moves that'll blow your mind, y'all need to check out this video about how other young rappers are building wealth beyond just music, and some of these investment strategies are absolutely wild. Click this video to see how the new generation is thinking about generational wealth and making moves that'll have their great-grandchildren set for life. Trust me, the numbers in that video are gonna make YB's real estate portfolio look like pocket change, no cap. If you've been keeping up with NBA Youngboy since he was 16, you know he always had the freshest fits on in the industry. Today we are going inside NBA Youngboy's closet. And I'm not talking about a regular rapper closet with some Jordans and a few chains. I'm talking about a collection that fans are now estimating at over $8 million. $8 million sitting in this man's closet right now. And that's not even the craziest part, because on top of all the insane jewelry and the designer clothes, this man just flew to Paris Fashion Week, front row at Rick Owens. Weeks after his wife had his 13th child, bro went from Cane Creek Apartments in Baton Rouge to sitting front row at one of the most exclusive fashion shows on earth and acting like that's just a regular Tuesday. By the time this video is over, y'all are going to be looking at NBA Youngboy completely different. Not just as a rapper, but as a guy who has quietly built one of the most insane wardrobes in all of hip-hop. So stay with me, because we are going piece by piece through everything this man owns. And I promise you, some of this is going to make your jaw drop. Let's get into it. All right, so before we get into what he's wearing right now in 2026, we gotta go back. Because the style evolution on NBA Youngboy is one of the most dramatic glow-ups in rap fashion history. And if you don't understand where he started, you won't fully appreciate how crazy where he ended up actually is. So get this. A few years back, NBA Youngboy's whole thing was loud streetwear. Amiri jeans, Dior bombers, Moncler puffers, Jordans. That was the rotation. And don't get me wrong, that is still a serious expensive wardrobe. Amiri jeans alone run you $500–600 a pair easy. A Dior bomber jacket, $3,000–4,000. Moncler puffer, same range. So even the old version of his closet was nothing to play with. But here's what's important. That era of his style, as expensive as it was, it still fit the box of what people expect from a successful young rapper. Designers that the culture recognizes. Streetwear with luxury price tags. Ice on the neck, Jordans on the feet, that's the formula. What he's doing now, that is something completely different. And that shift is what makes this closet story so wild to tell. But wait, before we get to the new era, let me break down some of the pieces from the earlier collection that were already absolutely crazy, because these things still live in his closet and they still hit different. First one, the Dior X Air Jordan 1s. What if I told you this man owns a pair of sneakers that only 8,500 pairs of exist in the entire world? I'm not even lying. The Dior X Air Jordan 1 collaboration from 2020 produced only 8,500 pairs total for the whole planet, and those shoes on the resale market right now are going for over $10,000. $10,000 for sneakers, and NBA Youngboy has them sitting in his closet like they're regular Nikes. Bro, that's actually insane. No cap. And then you've got the Dior X Sorayama B24 sneakers. Another Dior collab, navy and green, retail over $1,000, resale way higher. Versace Chain Reaction Python sneakers. Alexander McQueen Tread Slick. Eyelet Detail Sneaker Boots. Balenciaga Triple S. This man's shoe wall alone looks like a sneaker con. Fans online literally said that his closet looks like a whole sneaker con, and they weren't wrong. Now let's talk about the clothing, because this is where it gets insane. The documented fits from his earlier closet era include a Louis Vuitton damier camo sweater, a Dior velvet bomber jacket, a Dior X Sorayama logo robot turtleneck, which is one of the wildest looking pieces of clothing I've ever seen. It literally has a robot graphic on it. Very Dior high fashion, very not something you'd expect from a rapper from Baton Rouge. Givenchy logo tape sweatshirts, Moncler Canmore padded jacket, Balmain B logo bomber jacket, Fendi striped sweater, and Amiri grunge patch jeans. Y'all seeing this? That's not a wardrobe. That is a museum of designer fashion. Every single one of those brands is $500 minimum for the most basic piece they sell, and he's stacking them like it's nothing. Oh my God, and then there's the accessories. He had a Goyard Senate GM pouch. Goyard, for those who don't know, is one of those brands that doesn't even advertise. You just have to know about it. The bags start at hundreds of dollars and go up fast. And he's just carrying one around like it's a plastic bag from the corner store. Okay, so now, this is where it gets really crazy. Because the 2025 and 2026 version of NBA Youngboy's closet is operating at a level that has left even fashion people talking. In March 2025, he started showing up in Rick Owens. Not just one piece, full looks. Rick Owens Geth sunglasses, Klim Adrenaline Pro GTX BOA boots, full head-to-toe Maison Margiela, Givenchy layered long-sleeve logo t-shirt, and then the one that really made people stop, a full Louis Vuitton damier camo set, head to toe in Louis Vuitton damier camo, matching perfectly. That's the kind of fit that fashion stylists charge celebrities $10,000 to put together. NBA Youngboy just showed up in it. No cap, that's crazy. And then he added something to the rotation that basically said everything about where his taste level is right now. He started wearing a Flaneur Atelier hooded shirt and Flaneur Atelier tailored trousers. Y'all, Flaneur Atelier is a boutique label, like not mainstream, not something you see on every rapper. It's the kind of brand that signals you've been doing actual research on fashion, not just buying what the stylist tells you to grab. The fact that NBA Youngboy is wearing Flaneur Atelier tells you he or somebody very close to him is locked in on the fashion world at a level that goes way beyond just buying expensive stuff. So get this, Rick Owens, Maison Margiela, Flaneur Atelier. These are not the same category as Amiri and Dior. These brands are associated with Fashion Week regulars, art collectors, people who read fashion criticism. And NBA Youngboy is just out here wearing them to the grocery store. But here is the moment that made everything official. The moment that proved the style evolution was real and not just an accident. March 5th, 2026, Paris, France. NBA Youngboy walked into the Rick Owens Autumn/Winter 2026 fashion show at Paris Fashion Week. His whole fit was black, a studded leather vest, leather pants, fingerless gloves, chunky platform boots, and his signature sunglasses. And on his neck, a massive blinged out chain and pendant sitting on top of the whole look. His wife, Jaslyn Michelle, was with him, also in all black. They walked in and every camera turned. Oh my God, let that sink in for a second. This is the same man who grew up in Cane Creek Apartments. The same man who was recording mixtapes at 16 years old. And now he is in Paris, at Fashion Week, at the Rick Owens show. being photographed like a celebrity fashion guest. Chat, are we surprised? Because I wasn't ready for this. I genuinely was not ready for this. And fans went absolutely crazy online. People were saying he and Jaslyn looked like the best dressed couple there. Comments everywhere saying this is a different level of YB that nobody saw coming. And the craziest part is he made it look effortless, like he's been doing this his whole life. Now let's get into the jewelry, because if you thought the clothes were crazy, the jewelry is going to completely break your brain. I'm not even lying. NBA Youngboy's jewelry collection as of 2025 is being estimated by fans and jewelry watchers at over $8 million. $8 million. And when you start going piece by piece, you start to understand how that number is actually possible. Let's start with the piece that is probably the most famous in his entire collection. The NBA nameplate pendant. This thing costs $75,000, custom made. It features the letters NBA along with an altered version of the Michael Jordan logo. Except instead of holding a basketball, the figure holds a gun. Below it, a plate that reads "Never Broke Again." And the whole thing is covered in diamonds. $75,000 for one pendant. But that's not even his most expensive pendant. The 38 baby pendant. This is the one. $200,000. Let me say that again. $200,000 for one chain pendant. It features a diamond-encrusted monkey holding the 38 baby emblem, a reference to his earliest mixtape. And just to give you some context on how insane that number is, $200,000 is more than most people in America make in 4 years working a full-time job, and it's sitting on his neck when he goes out. Bro, that's actually insane. And then there's the Young Thug pendant. This one is $150,000. It's designed to depict Young Thug smoking a blunt. NBA Youngboy had it commissioned as a tribute to the fellow artist. $150,000 for a pendant about somebody else. The loyalty and the bag at the same time. Y'all seeing this? This man has almost $500,000 in just 3 pendants. And we haven't even talked about the chains yet. The chains in NBA Youngboy's collection are just as insane as the pendants. You've got the 4K T chain, representing 4K Trey, his crew, made with fine materials and precious stones, a symbol of loyalty that also happens to cost a crazy amount of money. The slat pendant chain, made with white emerald-cut diamonds and round diamonds in bold block letters, designed without a bail so it connects directly to a custom tennis chain. That's a design detail that most people wouldn't even think about, but it makes the piece completely one of a kind. Then there's the Grave Digger chain. Oh my God, this one features a coffin, 2 rifles, and a bold 2K engraving. It's one of the most theatrical, visually aggressive pieces of jewelry I've ever seen documented on a rapper. It looks like something out of a horror movie crossed with a luxury jewelry catalog, and NBA Youngboy wears it out in public, casually. And then there's the Broken Heart chain, a chain where the pendant is literally a broken heart split in half. It's symbolic. It connects to the emotional side of his music, the themes of pain and love that show up throughout his catalog. Same guy who writes songs about heartbreak is wearing a broken heart on a chain that probably costs more than a car. No cap, the storytelling in his jewelry collection is actually crazy when you look at it all together. Now let's talk about the watches, because this is where the jewelry section goes to another universe. For years, the crown of his watch collection was the iced-out Audemars Piguet skeleton watch. $200,000, completely frosted out, minimal face with no numbers, just notches marking the hours. The kind of watch that doesn't exist in most people's reality. The kind of watch that tells everybody in the room exactly who they're looking at. But in 2025 and 2026, he added a watch to his rotation that takes things to a whole different level. The Patek Philippe Nautilus Flyback Chronograph Travel Time, rose gold case, blue dial, reference number 5990/1R-001. What if I told you that this watch, this single timepiece, retails for over $100,000 and sells for significantly more on the secondary market? Because Patek Philippe Nautilus pieces are not just watches. They are investment vehicles. They are the kind of watch that wealthy collectors fight over at auction. The kind of watch that says you're not just rich, you understand what real money looks like. For context, a Rolex, which most people consider the peak of luxury watches, is below a Patek Philippe on the prestige ladder, like it's not even close. Patek makes Rolex look like a fashion brand, and NBA Youngboy just casually started wearing one. I kid you not, when this got documented and fans started identifying the watch, people online lost it because a Patek Philippe Nautilus on a 26-year-old from Baton Rouge who came up with nothing is just, it's a statement that doesn't need any words attached to it. So get this, let me bring it all together for you, because I want you to feel the full weight of what this closet actually represents. You've got $8 million in jewelry. You've got a shoe wall that looks like Sneaker Con with Dior X Jordan 1s going for $10,000 a pair. You've got full Rick Owens, Maison Margiela, Louis Vuitton head-to-toe fits. You've got a Patek Philippe Nautilus on the wrist. And you've got the man himself showing up at Paris Fashion Week in 2026 like he owns the place. And here is the detail that makes me respect it most. This is not a stylist's closet. This is not a PR team building an image. The evidence of genuine taste is in the specific pieces he gravitates toward. Rick Owens is not a brand that gets pushed on rappers by stylists looking for easy placements. Flaneur Atelier is not a brand that you end up in by accident. The Patek Philippe Nautilus is not a watch you buy because somebody told you to. You buy it because you've been paying attention and you know exactly what it means. These choices are personal. NBA. Youngboy literally told Complex that he knows nothing about fashion, but his closet is disagreeing with him in real time. This is a kid from one of the toughest environments in one of the most violent cities in America who built everything from nothing. No major label support out the gate, no industry connections, no family money, and turned that into a wardrobe worth $8 million and a front row seat at Paris Fashion Week. Whatever you think about his music, whatever you think about his personal life, you cannot look at that closet and that journey and not feel something. And that's the real story of NBA Youngboy's crazy closet, not just the price tags, the distance traveled to get there. And that's everything, gang. We went through the whole thing. The old era of Dior and Amiri and Jordans, the new era of Rick Owens and Patek Philippe and Paris Fashion Week, the $8 million jewelry collection with the $200,000 38 baby pendant, the Gravedigger chain, the Young Thug pendant, and a Patek Philippe Nautilus that is worth more than most people's houses. But yo, if you learned something new today, if this video gave you a different perspective on NBA Youngboy and what he's actually built, you gotta smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Because this is what we do here. We go deeper than the surface on the stories that matter in hip-hop culture. And if you want more content like this, stay tuned because the next video goes just as hard. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace. Rapper NB, a young boy from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who went from the streets to owning an entire mountain. Not a house on a mountain, not a cabin on a mountain, and he named it. He literally named his mountain, and the name he gave it, Gravedigger. Bro, I'm not even joking. NB, a young boy, one of the most streamed artists on the entire planet, owns a mountain called Gravedigger Mountain in Utah. And today, we are going inside his empire up there. The lifestyle, the security, the horses, the AK-47s at the gate, all of it. So if you leave this video early, I promise you, you are going to miss the craziest part. So stay locked in, gang. This one is wild. All right, let me set the scene for y'all first because some of you might be wondering, why is one of the biggest rappers in America living on a mountain in Utah of all places? Like Utah? Bro, that is not what you picture when you think of NBA Youngboy. You think Baton Rouge. You think the streets. You think No Cap, Outside Today, Bandit, the hits. You think of a dude who came up in one of the roughest environments in Louisiana and turned it into a music career that absolutely nobody could stop. And here's the thing about Youngboy. His numbers are insane. Like, I need y'all to understand how big this man is. For 5 straight years, he was the most streamed artist on YouTube in the entire United States. Not most streamed rapper, most streamed artist. Period. He was only behind Peso Pluma for overall streaming in 2023. This man is a streaming machine. His albums hit consistently. His fans are loyal, like ride or die loyal. And he built all of that while going through legal hell that would have broken most people. So here's how Utah happened. Back in 2020, Youngboy, real name Kentrell Deshaun Galden, was filming a music video in Baton Rouge and got arrested on federal weapons charges. We're talking federal, not local, federal. And he sat in a Louisiana jail for most of 2021. But then, and this is where it gets interesting, his lawyers made a move. They asked the court if he could serve out his house arrest, not in Louisiana, but in Utah, at a multi-million-dollar mansion. And the judge said yes. The judge actually said yes to that. So in late 2021, Youngboy packed up, moved his family to the mountains of Utah, and that's when everything changed. Chat, are we surprised that even his house arrest situation ended up being more cinematic than most people's regular lives? Because I'm not. This is Youngboy we're talking about. Okay, gang, this is the part I need y'all to really pay attention to, because this isn't just celebrity buys big house. No. This is on a completely different level. So Youngboy first moves into this mansion in Mill Creek, Utah, right in the Olympus Cove neighborhood in Salt Lake City. And when I tell you this house is something else, I mean it. We're talking 8,800 square feet. 8,800 square feet, bro. This thing has 4 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, floor-to-ceiling glass walls in practically every room, a resort-style pool, a 5-car garage with a heated driveway, because Utah gets cold and Youngboy is not shoveling snow, let's be real. A private elevator going up through all the floors, marble bathrooms, a main suite with a fireplace, a game room with bunk beds for his kids, a designer pool table, and a custom-built recording studio. In the house, his own studio, in the house. And from the windows, from every window because of all that floor-to-ceiling glass, you've got panoramic views of the Salt Lake Valley, the Oquirrh Mountains, and the Great Salt Lake. Like, on a clear day, this man is looking out at one of the most beautiful landscapes in America, and he's doing it from his own personal elevator. This is the life, bro. But here's where it gets insane, because the mansion alone wasn't enough. Later on, Youngboy acquired another property, this one in Huntsville, Utah, sitting on several acres of land. And this is the property he named. This is where Grave Digger Mountain was born. He took that land, those acres, that mountain terrain, and he claimed it. He branded it. He called it Grave Digger Mountain. And just like that, it became one of the most iconic locations in all of hip-hop. What if I told you that a rapper from Baton Rouge literally named a mountain in Utah after himself and his energy? And that mountain became so famous that fans around the world know exactly what you're talking about the second you say Grave Digger Mountain. Because that's exactly what happened. I kid you not. The name isn't random either. Grave Digger. That's Youngboy's whole mentality. He came from nothing. He's been through the streets, through jail, through legal battles that should have buried his career. But instead of being buried, he became the one doing the digging. He took that isolation, that confinement, that mountain, and he turned it into a fortress. His fortress. And he put his name on it. Y'all seeing this? This man named a mountain. Let that sink in. All right, gang, so now we know he owns the mountain. Now let's talk about what life actually looks like up there, because this is where it gets really interesting, because Youngboy didn't just move to Utah and sit in his mansion staring at the walls. No, he actually lived up there. He built a whole different kind of life on that mountain, and it's nothing like what you'd expect from a rap superstar. Bro, I need y'all to stop what you're doing right now because this is not a drill. NBA Youngboy, one of the hardest rappers alive, rides horses on his mountain, like full cowboy mode. He said in a video that he actually learned to ride horses in Eden, Utah. Journalists and content creators who visited him at Grave Digger Mountain documented him hanging out with his horses, his animals, and his family. One visitor said spending time with him up there was truly an honor and a treat, because it's just him, his family, his animals, and his mountain. That's the vibe. I'm not even lying. When I found this out doing research, I had to stop and just laugh for a second, because only Youngboy would go from Baton Rouge street life to horseback riding on a mountain he owns and named. Only him. No cap, that's actually crazy. And it doesn't stop at horses. This man and his crew have been spotted tearing through the mountain trails on ATVs, like actual off-road ATV trails carved right into the terrain of Grave Digger Mountain. His fans have documented this. There are videos and clips floating around showing the mountain scenery from the back of these ATVs, and bro, the views are something else. You're looking at Utah wilderness, mountain ridges, open sky. It's a whole different world up there. So get this, at one point when he announced his massive tour, he was already out there on the ATVs, like fresh out of prison, back on the mountain, back on the ATVs. Business as usual. Grave Digger Mountain never stops. Here's the side of Youngboy that not enough people talk about, the family man side. And on Grave Digger Mountain, that side came out in a big way. Youngboy moved to Utah with his then partner, Jaslyn Michelle Hayes, and while under house arrest in Utah, they actually got married, January 7th, 2023. His wife posted pictures from a bridal studio in the 9th and 9th neighborhood of Salt Lake City. Like, this man got married while on house arrest in Utah. That's one of the most Youngboy things I've ever heard. His kids are up there with him too. There are photos of him out in the snow holding a newborn surrounded by the mountain scenery. His kids visit, they hang out, they're part of the Gravedigger mountain world. He even took his kids to visit a local barber in Utah. Just regular dad stuff, just happening to take place on a mountain empire. And after his prison release in 2025, one of the first widely shared photos was him standing in the snow at the mountain holding an infant. Back home, back on Gravedigger Mountain. Gang, you could tell just from that image. This mountain means something deep to him. It's not just a property, it's home. Okay, this one actually surprised me because while he was living in Utah, Youngboy reportedly started reading about the LDS Church, the Mormon Church, which is huge in Utah. Now, he didn't say he was officially getting into the religion or converting, but the fact that he was even curious about it, reading about it, exploring it, that tells you something about the kind of reflection that was happening on that mountain. When you're isolated at the top of a mountain with nothing but time, family, and your thoughts, people change, people grow, and it sounds like Youngboy used that time to look inward. His lawyers even had to petition a judge at one point to let him leave the property for therapy sessions. The judge partially granted it, so this man was going to therapy, reading religious texts, riding horses, and recording music. That's the full Gravedigger Mountain experience. And speaking of recording music, let's not forget that the mansion has a full custom-built recording studio inside it. While the rest of the world thought house arrest meant his career was going to slow down, it didn't. It accelerated. Youngboy was dropping music at a pace that made most free artists look lazy. And the crown jewel of everything he created during that period? An album literally called Compliments of Gravedigger Mountain. He named an album after his mountain. That album gave fans a raw, unfiltered look at what life felt like being isolated up there. The loneliness, the reflection, the fire that never went out. Critics and fans called it some of his most introspective work ever, and it all came from that mountain. This is where it gets insane, gang, and the place that was supposed to be his punishment became his greatest creative era. The mountain didn't break him, the mountain made him. All right, let's slow it down for a second and really go through what this mansion is actually like, because I don't think people fully grasp how luxurious this place is. Like we said, 8,800 square feet. But let me break it down for you room by room because the details are wild. The entire house is basically made of windows. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls cover most of the home. This wasn't an accident. The architect designed the whole thing to blur the line between indoor and outdoor living. The listing literally described it as designed to let every corner of this home be flooded with natural light, creating an ambiance of serenity and tranquility. Bro, that's a $5.5 million description right there. And from those glass walls, you're looking at the Salt Lake Valley on one side and mountain terrain on the other. Every single room has a view. Every single one. The main floor master suite is on a different level. Private balcony overlooking the 1.46-acre lot. Fireplace in the room. Views that go on forever. This is where Youngboy wakes up every morning on Gravedigger Mountain. Fireplace going, valley stretched out in front of him, mountain air outside. I'm going to be honest with y'all, that sounds pretty incredible. Outside, there's a resort-style pool, not a regular backyard pool. A resort-style pool, like the kind you see at a 5-star hotel in Vegas. Perfect for Utah's warm summers. And given the backdrop of the mountains, you're basically swimming with one of the best views in the state. Inside, there's a game room with bunk beds, clearly designed with his kids in mind, and a designer pool table in the living areas. This house works for a family. It's not just a showpiece. People actually live there, kids run around, there's energy. Youngboy is a car guy, and a 5-car garage makes sure his collection is taken care of. But the detail that nobody talks about, the heated driveway. In Utah, you get serious snow in the winter, and Youngboy is not dealing with ice on his driveway. So they built a system into the driveway itself that keeps it heated. No shoveling, no ice, just pull up, park, go inside. That's money, bro. That's real money. This man has a private elevator in his house that goes to every floor. So if Youngboy doesn't feel like taking the stairs, he doesn't. He gets in his personal in-home elevator, presses a button, and floats up to whatever level he wants. At a house, this is a house with its own elevator. And we already talked about this, but it deserves its own mention. The custom-built recording studio. This is why he never stopped dropping music. This is why the isolation became an era instead of a pause. Because at any hour, day or night, Youngboy could walk down the hall and record. No studio time to book, no engineers to schedule, just him and his thoughts and a microphone. That studio is probably where some of the most raw, honest music of his career was made. The property? 1.46 acres. And when he bought it in April 2022, the purchase price was around $5.4 million. When he listed it for sale in 2024, he put it on the market for $5.5 million. So essentially, he lived in a $5.4 million mansion for 2+ years and walked away breaking even or better. Not bad for house arrest. Okay, gang, okay. This is the part of the video I've been waiting to get to, because we talked about the horses, we talked about the ATVs, we talked about the glass walls and the heated driveway and the in-home elevator, but none of it prepares you for what the security situation looks like at Gravedigger Mountain. Because this isn't celebrity security, this isn't a couple of big dudes in suits standing outside. No. What Youngboy has at that mountain is military level, special forces looking, AK-47 carrying, ski mask wearing, bulletproof vest rocking security. And I'm not exaggerating, I have the receipts. Local news stations in Utah have the receipts. So when Youngboy got released from prison in April 2025 and came back to Gravedigger Mountain, his neighbors in the Olympus Cove community started noticing something different, something they had not seen before. Armed guards, heavily armed guards, patrolling the gates of the neighborhood. And one of his neighbors, a woman named Judy Zone, went to local news station KUTV to talk about what she experienced. Bro, her story is wild. She said she was stopped on a Saturday by two of Youngboy's security guys. And when I say stopped, she wasn't doing anything suspicious. She was planning to bring him freshly baked cookies to welcome him home from prison. Cookies. This woman was just out here trying to be a nice neighbor with some baked goods, and she got stopped by two men in full bulletproof vests, dressed all in black. And one of them had an AK-47 strapped to his chest. An AK at the gate of a residential neighborhood in Salt Lake City, Utah. She told KUTV, "It introduces this level of anxiety. This woman was just coming with cookies, and she got met with AK-47s and ski masks. That is the level of security operation that Youngboy is running on this mountain. It is not playing around." Let me paint the full picture for y'all because I want you to really visualize this. Youngboy's security team, according to reports from KUTV Utah News, is out there rocking ski masks. Full ski masks covering their faces. Dressed all in black, bulletproof vests strapped on, and automatic weapons, AK-47s, strapped to their chests. These aren't standing at the door of a club. These are manning the gates to an entire mountain community in Olympus Cove. For context, Olympus Cove is an affluent neighborhood. We're talking about wealthy, quiet, suburban-type residents who moved to the hills of Salt Lake City for peace and privacy. And now they've got armed guards and ski masks running security operations at the neighborhood entrance because their neighbor is NBA Youngboy. That's the situation. Now let's be real for a second, and this is where I want y'all to actually think about this. Youngboy's level of security isn't random. This man has been through real danger in his life. He's been shot at. He's been in life-threatening situations. He came from an environment where protecting yourself isn't optional, it's survival. And even though he's now on a mountain in Utah, he knows that his profile is massive. His location is well known. Fans swarm him. Literally, after his prison release, fans were swarming him at a mall in Utah. So the security isn't paranoia, it's calculated protection. And on top of that, Gravedigger Mountain is known now. The whole world knows where Youngboy lives. That makes it a target. Whether it's fans, ops, or just random people trying to get a glimpse, having military-level security on a known property makes complete sense when you think about it from his perspective. But here's the part that really got me, because this says everything about who Youngboy is as a person. Right after he got out of prison and came back to the mountain, one of the first things he did was buy one of his security guards a house right near his own, so that this security guard could live close by, be on call, be nearby. Bro, think about what that means. He didn't just hire security and pay them a check. He bought one of them a home, so they could be neighbors. So the loyalty goes both ways. That is a level of generosity and loyalty that you don't see everywhere. And it also means his security isn't just employees. They're embedded in his world. They live where he lives. They're on that mountain with him. This is a whole operation. Y'all seeing this? He's running a compound up there. A full, secured, loyal compound on a mountain he named Gravedigger. Gang, are we surprised? Because I'm not. This is exactly the energy Youngboy carries. And here's the wild twist in all of this security story. The neighbor, Judy Zone, the one who got stopped by the AK-47 at the gate, she doesn't even have bad things to say about Youngboy himself. She actually said, "He's actually a very nice young man. He's very, very kind." She said he called her ma'am. She said she told him she'd never listened to his music, and he said, "And I love this. I don't recommend it." Bro, the man said, "I don't recommend it." That's hilarious. That's genuine. And it tells you something. Youngboy in person in his daily life on that mountain is not the image some people project onto him. He's respectful to his neighbors, he's present with his family, he's got the horses, the ATVs, the lifestyle, and also the AK-toting ski mask guards. Both things can be true. All right, gang, I want to take a second and walk y'all through the full legal timeline because I think understanding it makes Gravedigger Mountain hit even harder as a story. It starts in 2020. Youngboy is filming a music video in Baton Rouge. Police attempt to take him into custody. They find a firearm in the vehicle. Federal weapons charges. This isn't a misdemeanor. This is federal. And Youngboy spends most of 2021 sitting in a Louisiana jail waiting on trial. Then in October 2021, his attorneys make the move. They petition the court to let him serve his house arrest in Utah at the Olympus Cove mansion. The court says yes. And just like that, Youngboy is out of a jail cell and into an 8,800 square foot mansion in the mountains of Salt Lake City. He buys the property for $5.4 million in April 2022, and that becomes his world. Now, the conditions of house arrest mean he cannot leave the property. Not for groceries, not for a drive, not for anything. For years, Youngboy literally never stepped off that property. According to a Billboard report, he had not left the property a single time since moving in. Every single day was inside those walls, in those mountains, on that land. And then in early 2024, federal prosecutors came after him again, accusing him of violating house arrest terms by using illegal substances. The legal pressure kept building. His trial date got postponed when a U.S. district judge put things on hold pending a Supreme Court Second Amendment ruling, because his lawyers were arguing the gun law he allegedly violated was actually unconstitutional. In April 2024, while still under house arrest, he got arrested again, this time for possession of a controlled substance and a deadly weapon. And in December 2024, he was sentenced 23 months behind bars. He started serving that time, went through federal corrections, then ended up at a halfway house in Phoenix, Arizona. His scheduled release was April 26, 2025, but he got out early. April 10th, 2025, and within days, he was back on Gravedigger Mountain. That's the full arc. And what gets me is that through all of that, the arrests, the violations, the sentencing, the prison, the mountain was always there waiting for him. He always came back. Gravedigger Mountain is literally his constant. Real quick, gang, I can't do this video without talking about what the mountain produced musically, because this is the other reason Gravedigger Mountain is legendary. Youngboy was under house arrest for years, and in that time, he did not slow down. He dropped music constantly, album after album, project after project. While most artists slow down when life gets complicated, Youngboy sped up, and it's because he had that studio in the house and nowhere else to be. Music was his only release from the confinement, but the crown jewel was Compliments of Gravedigger Mountain, an album named directly after his mountain empire. And it sounded like it too, raw, reflective, unfiltered. Fans and critics pointed to it as some of his most emotionally honest work because it was made in isolation, no outside noise, no distractions, just Youngboy, the mountain, and the studio. And when artists who rap about how real they are compare it to what Youngboy actually produced while literally confined to a mountain in Utah on house arrest, bro, there's no comparison. That man was making platinum-level music from his mountain prison and never once complained publicly about it. He just kept going. This is where it gets insane. The isolation that was supposed to silence him gave him the most creative environment of his career. The mountain didn't slow him down. It leveled him up. And now that he's back, gang, there is already speculation building about new music from Gravedigger Mountain. His camp hasn't officially announced anything, but if his track record tells us anything, it's that Youngboy doesn't stay quiet for long. And if another project comes out of that mountain, I promise you it's going to hit different. Okay, so here's one of the most interesting twists in the whole Gravedigger Mountain story. In February 2024, while still under house arrest, Youngboy listed the Mill Creek mansion for sale. $5.5 million asking price. It hit Zillow. Real estate sites picked it up. The hip-hop world went crazy. Now, he never publicly explained why he was selling, but people speculated that with his trial approaching, he'd probably need to be back in Louisiana, and keeping a $5.5 million Utah property didn't make as much sense anymore. The listing described the home as a luxurious retreat with resort-style living, panoramic vistas, all the stuff we talked about. The property sat on the market. And then, after everything, after the sentencing, after prison, after the halfway house, what happens when he gets out in April 2025? He goes back to the mountain. That's on the market. He returned to a property that's listed for sale and moved back in like he never left. Bro, that tells you everything. Gravedigger Mountain is not just real estate to this man. It's identity. It's home. It's the place where he became something different from what the streets of Baton Rouge made him. And even when logic said move on, he came back. What if I told you that NBA Youngboy, worth an estimated $6 to $10 million, some sources say up to $15 million, keeps choosing to return to a mountain in Utah over everything else available to him? Because that's exactly what's happening. And honestly, I respect it. Gang, 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 let's bring this home. Because we just went through the full story of NBA Youngboy's massive Utah empire, and I want to make sure y'all got the full picture. This man went from federal weapons charges and a Louisiana jail cell to a $5.4 million mansion in the mountains of Salt Lake City. He got there, looked around at the land and said, you know what? I'm naming this mountain Gravedigger Mountain because that's who I am. He put his whole identity on a mountain and made it iconic, and he rode horses, he tore through mountain trails on ATVs, he got married up there, he raised his kids up there, he built a recording studio and made some of the best music of his career without ever leaving the property. He read about religion, he went to therapy, he looked at the Salt Lake Valley every morning through floor-to-ceiling glass and found peace in a place that was supposed to feel like a cage. And then he secured it because while other celebrities have security, Youngboy deployed an army, ski masks, Ak's bulletproof vests, guards at the gate stopping neighbors with cookies at gunpoint. And then, to show what real loyalty looks like, he bought one of those guards a house right next to his own. He got arrested again, he went to prison, he served his time, and the second he got out, he went right back to Gravedigger Mountain, back home. That's not just a real estate story, that's not just a celebrity lifestyle piece. That is a story about a man who found something in the mountains of Utah that he couldn't find anywhere else. Purpose, creativity, peace, family, and he built a mountain empire around it. No cap, that's actually one of the craziest stories in hip-hop right now, and most people don't even know the half of it, until now. If you learned something new today, if this blew your mind even a little bit, you already know what to do. Drop a like on this video, it literally helps more than you know. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, because we are not done going deep on stories like this. And comment down below, what part of this surprised you the most? Was it the horses? Was it the AK-47s at the gate? Was it the fact that he named his mountain? Let me know, gang. And if you want more content like this, more deep dives into the lifestyles, the empires, the stories that don't make the headlines, I got you. Next video is going to be just as crazy. I promise you that. I'm out. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.
How does a kid who grew up dirt poor in one of the most dangerous hoods in America, watched his pops get sentenced to 55 years from an area where only 1% make it out, end up making $100 million while on house arrest? I'm talking about owning tigers, actual tigers, real-life tanks, a $5.5 million mansion, over $1 million in cars he can't even drive, $6 million in jewelry, all while he's literally stuck in his house, can't leave, can't tour, can't perform, but still made more money than most rappers who's free. And now that he's finally off house arrest, he's projected to make $60 million from his current tour alone. 60 million, gang, that's insane type shit. That's NBA Youngboy. And his story, man, this ain't just rags to riches. This is survival. This is a whole different level of hustling that most people can't even comprehend. Today, we breaking down exactly how Youngboy went from sleeping on couches and getting jumped in group homes to becoming one of the richest young rappers alive. And trust me, what he did to make that bread while locked up, that's genius on another level, no cap. If you've been following my channel, you know I keep it 100, no fluff, just facts. So let's get into how this YN really turned poverty into a multi-million-dollar empire that even prison bars couldn't stop. To understand how Youngboy pulled this off, we gotta go all the way back to where it started. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, October 20th, 1999. Born Kentrell Deshaun Gaulden. And fam, when I say he came from struggle, I mean real struggle. Not that we was broke struggle. I'm talking about dirt poor, don't know where your next meal coming from type poverty for real. At 4 years old, Lil Homie broke his neck in a wrestling accident. Had to wear a head brace until his spine healed. You see them scars on his forehead today? That's from that brace, gang. That's his first battle scar. And he wasn't even old enough for kindergarten yet. That's crazy to even think about. But yo, that physical pain, that was nothing compared to what came next. His pops, Jeffrey Staden, got sentenced to 55 years in prison for robbery. 55 years, bro. That's essentially a life sentence. Youngboy would never know what it's like to have a father figure growing up. No male guidance, no pops to show him how to be a man, just nothing. His mama, Shirhonda Galden, eventually moved out of the neighborhood and left Youngboy with his grandmother, Alice Galden, and real talk, his grandmother became everything to him. His mother, his father, his protector. She raised him in North Baton Rouge, one of the most dangerous areas in Louisiana. No cap. They was dirt poor, fam, like genuinely struggling, not knowing if there's gonna be food tomorrow type poverty, but his grandmother held it down the best she could, giving him whatever love and stability she could provide in that unstable world. Then tragedy hit again. When Youngboy was just 10 years old, his grandmother Alice died of heart failure. The one person who was his rock, who loved him unconditionally, who kept him safe, gone. At 10 years old, he got sent to a group home. And that's where things got dark, gang. I used to get beat up inside the group home for no reason, Youngboy said. The other boys would put their hands on me and I would look up like, why are you hitting me, bro? Imagine that. You just lost the only person who loved you and now you getting jumped by other kids for absolutely no reason. That's the type of trauma that shapes you, that hardens you, that makes you who you become on that timing. Youngboy dropped out of Scotlandville Magnet High School in 9th grade. At 14, he got arrested for robbery and sent to a juvenile detention center in Tallulah, Louisiana for 6 months. Most YNs would have given up at that point, accepted that this was their destiny, prison, poverty, death. But Youngboy did something different, fam. He started writing. In that cold juvenile detention cell, he wrote song after song after song, pouring all his pain, all his trauma, all his survival instincts into lyrics. That's where Life Before Fame was born, his first mixtape created in the darkness of confinement. That's when Lil Bro realized music was his only way out. Not a dream, survival. Either make it with music or end up dead or locked up forever like everyone else from his hood. The escalation. So when Youngboy got out of detention, he moved in with his homie NBA 33 and 33's mama Monique, who basically became his second mother. But now they had to survive, and survival in Baton Rouge meant one thing, whatever it takes type shit. Youngboy and 3 got involved in criminal activities just to pay for studio time. They was robbing, hustling, doing what they had to do to record music. But here's what's crazy. Youngboy knew music was his only ticket out. This wasn't no hobby game. This was life or death. In 2015, at just 15 years old, he dropped his first official mixtape, Life Before Fame, on YouTube. Then came Mind of a Menace, then Mind of a Menace 2, then Mind of a Menace 3. He was flooding YouTube with raw, authentic pain. Kids from the streets connected with it immediately because it was real. He wasn't making up stories, he was documenting his life for real. By 2016, his mixtape 38 Baby exploded on YouTube, racking up millions of views. The streets of Baton Rouge knew him. Then Louisiana knew him. Then the whole South knew him. This 16-year-old shorty who'd been sleeping on couches and eating when he could was suddenly getting millions of plays. But that's just the beginning, though. In 2017, everything changed. Mike Caron from Atlantic Records scouted him, and Youngboy signed a 5-album deal worth $2 million with artist partner group and Atlantic Records. $2 million, fam. For a kid who'd been dirt poor his entire life, this was generational wealth. This was the way out. The first thing Youngboy did, he gave $20,000 in cash away in his neighborhood, went back to the same streets that raised him and started passing out stacks to people who needed it. That's who he is. No cap. He never forgot where he came from. Real recognized real. A week after getting out of jail on another case in 2017, he dropped Untouchable. The song went viral. Then Outside Today dropped in 2018 and went quadruple platinum, hitting the Billboard Hot 100. His debut album, Until Death Call My Name, peaked at number 7 on the Billboard 200. Youngboy was getting rich, and he was doing exactly what he said he'd do. He moved everybody out the hood. His mama, his siblings, his homies, everybody who held him down when he had nothing. He bought houses, paid bills, got people out of dangerous situations. NBA stood for Never Broke Again. again, and he made sure nobody around him would be broke again either, on that timing for real. But here's where it gets crazy, fam. With all that success came heat from the law. Heavy heat. November 2016, Youngboy got arrested by U.S. Marshals in Austin, Texas before a performance. He got charged with 2 counts of attempted murder after allegedly opening fire on a South Baton Rouge street. This was serious. At just 17, he was eligible to be tried as an adult in Louisiana, facing the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison. He sat in parish prison for 6 months awaiting trial, 6 months of his prime years locked in a cell, watching his career momentum potentially die. But here's where money changed everything. Youngboy hired top lawyers, the best legal team money could buy, type shit. And in late August 2017, he appeared before Judge Bonnie Jackson. His lawyers worked magic. He pled guilty to a lesser charge of aggravated assault with a firearm and was released on $50,000 bail pending sentencing. He got a 10-year suspended sentence, which basically meant as long as he stayed out of trouble, he'd be free. Let me break it down for you. That's the power of money, gang. A poor kid with a public defender, he's doing life. But a kid with millions and top lawyers, he walks. That's the reality of the American justice system, no cap. Throughout the next few years, he kept catching cases. In February 2018, arrested before a concert in Tallahassee. Throughout 2019, more legal issues, probation violations, more arrests. But every time, he had the resources to fight back. Money became his shield against a system designed to destroy young black men from poverty. In September 2020, Youngboy got arrested in Baton Rouge for illegal drug manufacturing and stolen weapons. Then, in 2021, he got arrested again, but got involved in a car chase trying to escape police. He was facing serious federal gun charges that could have put him away for decades. But in July 2022, he was found not guilty of those September firearms charges. His lawyers, funded by his millions, got him acquitted. Fam. He was then released to house arrest in Utah, confined to his mansion while awaiting trial on federal charges from Louisiana. Here's the thing people need to understand. Youngboy would still be in prison if he was broke. The only reason he's been able to fight all these cases, to get bail, to beat charges, is because he has money for the absolute best legal representation money can buy. Real talk, that's just how it is. Now here's where people started connecting the dots and realizing what Youngboy was really doing, gang. In October 2021, Youngboy moved to Utah with his girl Jaslyn Michelle Hayes and started his house arrest. Most people thought this would kill his career. How you gonna stay relevant when you trapped in a house? How you gonna make money when you can't tour, can't perform, can't even leave your property? Youngboy said, watch me. According to celebrity manager Whack 100 and DJ Academics, NBA Youngboy made between $50 million and $100 million in a single year while on house arrest. Let me repeat that for the people in the back. $100 million while locked in his house. That's some next level player shit, no cap. How? Let me break this down for y'all. First, he sold part of his music catalog that he owned from Atlantic Records. Then he signed a massive deal with Capitol Records reportedly worth between $40 and $60 million. But yo, that's not even the crazy part. The crazy part is his work ethic, fam. In 2023 alone, while on house arrest, Youngboy released 121 songs. 121 songs, gang. That's more than Drake and Kendrick Lamar combined. He was dropping music faster than people could listen to it on that timing heavy. His YouTube channel was generating about 38% of his income in ad revenue alone, over $4 million per year just from YouTube ads. His streaming numbers were insane, over 15 billion total views across platforms. Every stream, every play, every view was putting money in his pocket type shit. While other rappers were touring and doing shows, Youngboy was at home pumping out hit after hit after hit. He also resigned with Atlantic Records for a reported $60 million deal, then later moved to Motown after a bidding war. Labels were throwing money at him because they knew despite being on house arrest, he could deliver. And he did, for real. People in the industry couldn't believe it, fam. How is someone making $100 million while they can't even leave their house? But that's the power of the internet age. Youngboy didn't need to tour. He had a direct connection to millions of fans through YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and social media. That's genius type shit right there. He flipped a situation that was supposed to destroy his career into the most profitable year of his life. Now that's what I call never broke again on God. So what does someone do when they making millions while trapped in a mansion? They buy absolutely insane stuff, that's what. And yo, when I tell you the stuff Youngboy bought was wild, I mean wild, gang. Let's start with the tigers. Yeah, tigers, plural, fam. In October 2017, Youngboy posted a video on Instagram showing him sitting on his living room couch with a white tiger cub next to him. A white tiger cub is incredibly rare. It's a genetic mutation that only occurs in 1 out of every 10,000 Bengal tiger births. But Youngboy didn't just have one tiger. He had at least 2, a white one and an orange one. That's some Mike Tyson type shit right there, no cap. Rick Ross even revealed that the tiger ended up at his mansion for a while through Meek Mill. Eventually, the white tiger got seized by Louisiana authorities for neglect and had to be rescued, which is sad but real. Then there's the horses. Youngboy learned to ride horses in Eden, Utah during his house arrest. For someone from the streets of Baton Rouge, owning and riding horses represented a completely different lifestyle. Country, free, peaceful type shit. But the craziest purchase? A tank. Yes, an actual military tank parked at his multi-million-dollar mansion, gang. When most rappers buy exotic cars, Youngboy bought a literal tank. That's some gangsta shit right there, for real. Speaking of cars, Youngboy's car collection was valued at over $1.3 million. He owned a McLaren GT, a Rolls-Royce Cullinan with white exterior and blood red interior, a Mercedes Maybach S650, Dodge Hellcats, a Bentley Continental GT, a Tesla Model S, a Corvette Z06, and a Suburban. Most of his cars were white. That became his signature type shit. But here's the twist that's actually sad, fam. In a Billboard interview, Youngboy said he wanted to get rid of all his cars because he couldn't drive them due to house arrest. That's the tragedy of his wealth, gang. He has millions of dollars in cars sitting in garages, but he can't drive them. All this wealth, all this luxury, but he's still confined. That's some real shit right there. His Utah mansion was 8,828 square feet on 1.46 acres with 5 5-car garages, a heated driveway, an elevator, a pool, and panoramic views. He called it Gravedigger Mountain and even released a whole project named after it. In February 2024, he listed that mansion for sale at $5.5 million after spending more than 2 years confined there. He'd made hundreds of millions while trapped, but was ready to move on. But yo, here's where the story gets even crazier. After all that time on house arrest, after making $100 million while locked down, Youngboy finally got his freedom back. And what's he doing now? He's on tour, fam, and not just any tour. He's projected to make around $60 million from his current tour. $60 million, gang. Let that sink in. Think about that for a second. He made $100 million while he couldn't tour. Now that he can tour, he's making another $60 million just from performing. That's $160 million in a short period of time. At 25 years old, that's absolutely insane. No cap. The demand for Youngboy's shows is crazy because his fans been waiting years to see him perform live. While he was on house arrest, his fan base only grew bigger. His YouTube numbers kept climbing. His streaming kept breaking records. So when he finally announced tour dates, tickets sold out fast. Venues are packed. Fam, arenas filled with thousands of people who connected with his music during the darkest times of their lives. People who related to his pain, his struggle, his story, and now they finally get to see him in person after years of him being locked down. That $60 million tour projection shows you the power of Youngboy's fan base. These aren't casual listeners. These are die-hard fans who will pay whatever it takes to see him perform. And Youngboy is giving them everything they've been waiting for type shit. So let's do the math real quick. $100 million from house arrest activities plus $60 million from touring. That's $160 million, gang. From a kid who grew up with nothing, who was sleeping on couches, who was getting jumped in group homes, who lost his grandmother at 10 years old. That's the definition of never broke again, for real. The bigger picture. But yo, all this wealth, all this success, all these material possessions and sold out tours couldn't buy Youngboy the one thing that matters most, peace of mind. In that Billboard interview, Youngboy revealed something deep. I'm terrified of people. I'm very scared of people. On my kids, I'm terrified of people, and I'm very shy. Think about that, gang. A man making $160 million, selling out arenas with millions of fans, terrified of people. He explained, People are cruel, like we can't control ourselves. So you never know if someone will do you. That's the paranoia that comes from growing up how he did, from losing people, from violence, from always looking over your shoulder, for real. Money can't fix that trauma, fam. All the tours and mansions in the world can't heal those wounds. Youngboy has at least 11 children with different women. He became a father at 16 years old. His kids include Caden, Casey, Kamiri, Talon, Armani, Cody Capri, Alice, named after his late grandmother, Kentrell Jr., and Clemenza. He's trying to give them everything he never had, but the trauma he carries affects how he moves as a father, no cap. Despite all his legal troubles, Youngboy continued giving back. While incarcerated in 2019, he and his team funded an annual back-to-school drive to give children school supplies and necessities. That's some real recognized, real type shit, gang. So let me bring this all home for y'all. If you told that 10-year-old kid who just lost his grandmother, who was getting beat up in a group home, who had nothing and nobody, if you told him that by age 25, he'd make over $160 million between house arrest earnings and touring, own tigers and tanks and mansions, and be one of the biggest rappers in the world, Lil Bro probably wouldn't have believed it was possible. But for NBA Youngboy, impossible became inevitable, fam. His story isn't just about rags to riches, it's about survival. It's about a kid who was dealt the worst hand imaginable and still found a way to win on that timing. He went from dirt poor to making $100 million while on house arrest, then turned around and made another $60 million from touring once he got free. That's $160 million, gang, from a kid who didn't know where his next meal was coming from. He went from sleeping on couches to owning $5.5 million mansions, from wearing head braces to wearing million-dollar chains, from juvenile detention to making more money than most people will see in 10 lifetimes. That's the story of Youngboy Never Broke Again, emphasis on never broke again. But his story also shows the limits of money. It got him out of poverty, yes. It bought him incredible things, yes. But it couldn't buy him freedom from his trauma. It couldn't erase the pain. It couldn't give him peace of mind, for real. The kid from Baton Rouge who had nothing built an empire that even house arrest couldn't stop. And now that he's free and touring, he's proving that the hustle never stops, that the marathon continues, and that he'll never be broke again. No cap. What y'all think about Youngboy's story? Drop your thoughts in the comments, fam. Did he make the smartest moves possible or not?
Starting things off with NBA Youngboy, because for real, when most people think about this man, they think about the music, the legal drama, the babies. What they are not thinking about is what this dude has been doing with his money behind closed doors. And fam, the list is wild. Youngboy Never Broke Again, born Kentrell Deshaun Gaulden on October 20th, 1999 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, has built himself into one of the most streamed artists on the entire planet. No cap. At the end of 2023, he was the most streamed artist on YouTube in the United States for the 5th year in a row. Not the most streamed rapper, the most streamed artist. The man has over 30 billion streams on YouTube alone, and he did a large chunk of that while legally trapped in a $5 million mansion on a mountain in Utah. But here is what nobody is really talking about: the exotic, bizarre, and genuinely jaw-dropping things this man has spent his money on. We are talking about animals that can kill you, a fortress of a house that would make most people feel like they were living in a movie, a car collection worth over $1 million that he legally could not drive, and personal flexes so unique they make you rethink everything you thought you knew about Kentrell Gaulden. So let us get into it. These are the exotic things NBA Youngboy owns that you did not know about. We are starting here because everything else on this list happened inside of, on top of, or because of this place. And if you are not up to speed on Gravedigger Mountain Gang, you need to be. Back in 2021, Youngboy was facing serious federal gun charges out of Baton Rouge. He was sitting in a Louisiana jail waiting on trial, and eventually his legal team negotiated to have him serve his pretrial house arrest in Utah. Now, when most people think house arrest, they think ankle monitor, small apartment, depressing situation. That is not even close to what happened here. In April 2022, Youngboy's team purchased a property in the Olympus Cove neighborhood of Mill Creek, Salt Lake City. Sitting right on a ridgeline in the mountains with a panoramic view of the entire Salt Lake Valley below. 8,800 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, a 5-car garage, an indoor elevator running through all floors, a resort-style heated pool, floor-to-ceiling glass walls in nearly every single room, a full professional recording studio inside the house, marble bathrooms throughout, a bunk bed and game room, views of the Oquirrh Mountains and the Great Salt Lake all at once. And what did Youngboy name this property? Grave Digger Mountain. Just casually gave his $5.4 million Utah mansion on a mountain its own name, started dropping albums named after it, and turned his court-ordered confinement into arguably the most creative stretch of his entire career. According to court filings from his own attorneys, the isolation inside that property was causing him great anxiety, depression, loss of weight, and sleep. His lawyers went to a judge asking for permission to leave for therapy sessions and to record music elsewhere. But even while fighting that battle legally, Youngboy was producing non-stop. Album after album dropped from that mountain. Y'all think that kind of isolation would break most people? Because for real, it would. 3 years on a mountain with no freedom, watching your own trial get delayed over and over, unable to tour, unable to leave the property, watching your peers move freely while you are stuck. But Youngboy turned a judge's punishment into a whole movement, and when he was finally released from prison in 2025 after his gun conviction, where did he go first? Straight back to Gravedigger Mountain. His neighbor, a woman named Judy Zone, who had met him before his prison stint and described him as very kind, and someone who called her ma'am, told local news she came outside one day and was stopped by 2 armed men in bulletproof vests, one of them with an AK-style rifle strapped to his chest, patrolling the property perimeter. In Salt Lake City, Utah, fam, a K rifles on a residential mountain street. That is the world Youngboy lives in, no matter what zip code he moves to. But that is nothing compared to what we are about to get into, gang, because Youngboy did not just buy a fancy house, he bought a Predator. In 2017, when Kentrell was just 18 years old and starting to really come up in the rap game, he acquired a white tiger cub. Not a dog, not a pit bull, a white Bengal tiger. And the reason he got it, according to what circulated at the time, he got this tiger specifically for home security. Let that sit for a second. Most people coming up in a rough neighborhood get a Rottweiler. Youngboy got a tiger. Now, to understand why an 18-year-old from Baton Rouge would think getting a tiger made sense as a security measure, you have to understand the environment he was coming out of. This is a man who, by the time he was 17, had already been shot, arrested multiple times, and watched people close to him die. Growing up in Baton Rouge's 3rd Ward, protection was not something the system provided. You figured it out yourself. So when money started coming in, Kentrell's instinct was not to hire more bodyguards. It was to get something that could not be negotiated with, bribed, or scared off. He got a Predator. On October 10th, 2017, he posted a video to his Instagram sitting on his living room couch in Baton Rouge with this white tiger cub right next to him. You can see him stand up, lean over, scratch the cub under the chin, and casually mention that the tiger had bitten him that morning while he was bottle feeding it. He is talking about being on the front cover of Fader magazine, looking unbothered with a literal tiger on his couch like it is a house cat. Now here is where the story takes a serious turn. That tiger cub was only 5 months old when wildlife officials came to get her. By December of 2017, Louisiana wildlife agents had seized the animal from an unpermitted location in New Orleans. The rescue organization, Lions, Tigers, and Bears, a big cat sanctuary in Alpine, California, made a cross-country trip to pick her up. When they arrived, the cub was malnourished, lethargic, and suffering from ringworm. They named her Nola. A wildlife biologist who visited the sanctuary said directly to the camera, "Don't be a rapper, and if you are a rapper, don't get a tiger." That quote went completely viral in February 2026 when the whole story resurfaced online and people were encountering it for the first time. Clips from 2017 of Youngboy with Nola started circulating all over X alongside new footage of her thriving at the sanctuary nearly a decade later. No criminal charges were ever filed against Youngboy in connection with the tiger, and as of today, Nola is reportedly doing well. But it does not end there, fam, because Youngboy also reportedly gifted a tiger cub to Rick Ross, as in, he gave another rapper a tiger, as a gift. Ross has spoken about this publicly, and the story of what happened when that tiger showed up at his property is genuinely one of the funniest things in recent rap history. And hit that subscribe button real quick before we keep going, because we still have to get into the $1 million car collection he legally could not drive, the cat with its own Instagram, and what he did for his security guard that almost nobody is talking about. Now let's move on to the whips, because this is where Youngboy went absolutely crazy with his money, and then made the whole situation even more interesting with one single confession. Most rappers with money have cars. That is not new. But Youngboy's car situation is different because of one specific detail. The man assembled over $1 million worth of exotic vehicles and then publicly admitted he could not drive a single one. For real. During his house arrest years at Gravedigger Mountain, Youngboy went live and showed off his collection, and flat out told his fans he could not drive any of them because of his legal restrictions. He could see them, he could sit in them, he just could not take them anywhere. And he said he was thinking about selling the entire collection and replacing it with antique cars instead. So what did this collection look like? At its peak, it included a white Rolls-Royce Cullinan with a custom blood red interior, a car that starts at $336,000. A black Mercedes Maybach S650, powered by a 6-liter twin-turbo V12 producing over 600 horsepower. A red McLaren 570S, which he reportedly used to lock himself inside and practice freestyling in silence. Not drive, sit in and freestyle. Think about that image for a second. One of the most streamed artists alive sitting inside a nearly $200,000 supercar he cannot legally take out of the driveway working on his bars. A Bentley Continental GT that he eventually wrapped in white to match the rest of the fleet. That same car has appeared in his Diamond Teeth Samurai video, a Chevrolet Corvette Z06, a Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat, a Dodge Charger Hellcat, and a white Tesla Model S, rounding out a fleet that was almost entirely painted white because, for real, that is just how Youngboy moves. Everything white, the whole collection, millions of dollars worth of horsepower, all matching. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan is the crown jewel, white exterior, blood red interior, fully custom, featured in his Lost Motives video. And if owning one was not enough of a flex, Youngboy bought a second Cullinan, this one wrapped in a custom sky blue finish, as a birthday gift for his partner at the time. He purchased a Rolls-Royce to give as a birthday present, as in the gift itself was a Rolls-Royce. Y'all think that is normal behavior? Because it is not. But for Kentrell, that is just how he shows love. No cap. Now y'all probably figured that the tiger was the only animal situation with Youngboy. But gang, there is another animal in this man's life, and this one is somehow even more unique than a Bengal tiger. Youngboy has a black cat named Neon, and this cat has its own dedicated Instagram account. Not just a few posts on Youngboy's page, a whole separate account run consistently with a real following. Thousands of people follow this cat. But here is what makes it actually interesting. Youngboy uses the captions on Neon's posts to share his own thoughts and feelings. Cryptic, introspective, personal things that he does not post on his own page. During the most isolated periods of his house arrest, when he was not allowed to go anywhere and was dealing with severe depression according to his own lawyers, fans would check Neon's Instagram to figure out how Kentrell was actually doing. Think about what that tells you about this man. He named his black cat Neon, built it a platform, and used it as a private window into his emotional state during one of the hardest stretches of his life. The cat was his way of speaking when he felt like he could not speak directly. There is a whole side to Youngboy that his music has always hinted at. Sensitive, emotional, deeply introspective, and Neon's Instagram is one of the clearest windows into that side of him that exists publicly. Fans have literally pieced together timelines of how Youngboy was feeling emotionally just by reading the captions on his cat's Instagram. When the posts were dark and cryptic, fans knew something was weighing on him. When the energy shifted, the captions shifted with it. No interviews needed, no press conferences. Just a man writing his thoughts through his cat's social media page in the middle of the night on a mountain in Utah. That is not just an exotic thing he owns. That is actually one of the most revealing things on this entire list. But speaking of animals and revealing moments, let us talk about Kez. During one of his live streams, Youngboy introduced his audience to a female pit bull he had just adopted. Her name was Kez, and the explanation he gave for why he got her is genuinely one of the most memorable things he has ever said publicly. He said, no cap, completely straight-faced, that he adopted Kez as a last-ditch effort to understand how to deal with females. Gang. This man went out, bought a pit bull, and named it as a therapeutic exercise in understanding women. The comment sections lost their minds. His fan base treated it like the most relatable thing any rapper has ever admitted. And the wild part is, given everything we know about Youngboy's complicated personal life, multiple kids, multiple relationships, all of it, the Kez explanation kind of makes perfect sense. He has a tiger that got seized, a cat with a cryptic Instagram, and a pit bull to help him figure out relationships. Kentrell is not like other rappers, fam. He never has been. But in the case of what Youngboy did when he came home from prison, this is the one that really says everything about who this man is when the cameras are not rolling. After his release in April 2025, the story that got some coverage but did not get nearly enough attention was this. Youngboy bought his personal security guard a house, not a bonus check, not a cash gift in an envelope, a whole house, located near his own property so the guard could be close and respond fast if needed. Think about the context here. This is a man who grew up in Baton Rouge with nothing, who has been shot at, who has lost people, who has spent years inside legal systems that were actively trying to keep him locked up. And the first major gesture he makes after getting out of prison is buying the person responsible for keeping him alive a home of his own. That does not get talked about enough in conversations about who Kentrell Gaulden actually is. Y'all can debate the music, debate the lifestyle, debate the legal history, but a man who buys his security guard a house? That is somebody who understands loyalty on a level that most people in any industry, not just rap, never actually demonstrate. And combined with everything else on this list, the mountain fortress with armed guards, the tiger he kept for security at 18, the cars worth more than most people's houses, the cat he used to communicate his inner world, you start to see a picture of somebody who has been trying to build a protected private world his entire career, because where he came from, protection was never guaranteed. And no amount of money has ever made him forget that. So let us bring it all together, fam. NBA Youngboy. From Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A kid who grew up in one of the most dangerous zip codes in America, who was incarcerated before he could legally drink, who built a career from a phone recording bars in a living room, now sits at the top of the streaming world with a lifestyle that reads like fiction. $5.4 million mountain mansion he named Grave Digger Mountain, sitting on a ridge overlooking Salt Lake City with armed guards at the perimeter. A white tiger he kept for home security at 18 years old, seized by wildlife officials and rehabilitated at a sanctuary in California where she still lives today. Over $1 million in exotic cars, Rolls Royces, McLarens, Bentleys, a Maybach, that he legally could not drive during the years he owned them. A black cat named Neon with its own Instagram that became a cryptic diary during the most isolated period of his life. A pit bull named Kez that he adopted specifically to help him understand women. Armed guards carrying AK-style rifles on a quiet residential street in Utah. And a house, a whole house, purchased for the man whose job it is to keep him safe. This is not just a rapper with money, fam. This is a man who has been trying to build an unbreachable world his entire career because he grew up in one where nothing was protected, nothing was guaranteed, and nothing lasted. Every exotic thing on this list, the animals, the mansion, the cars, the security, all of it connects back to the same thing. A kid from 3rd Ward, Baton Rouge, who decided he was never going to be caught lacking again. Not financially, not physically, not emotionally. He just dropped his Massa Tour concert documentary in theaters in April 2026, covering 42 sold-out arena shows that grossed over $70 million. His fan base is the most loyal in the game, and every time you think you have figured Kentrell out, he does something that reminds you nobody in hip-hop moves quite like him. And speaking of rappers with stories deeper than what makes the headlines, we broke down the complete timeline of Lil Durk's federal murder-for-hire case. Everything from King Von's death to where the trial stands today, so click this video right here to get the full story before that August trial kicks off. NBA Youngboy is pulling in $9 million every single month, and this young king is only 25 years old. No cap, this dude became a millionaire at 16, and now he's sitting on a $500 million empire with income streams that'll make your head spin. But yo, before we dive into this insanity, let me break down the 12 different ways this man is securing the bag every single month that's gonna blow your mind. Gang, let me tell you something. When we talk about young money, NBA Youngboy is the definition of that phrase, for real. This dude went from the streets of Baton Rouge to becoming one of the highest earning artists in the game, and he did it all before he could legally drink. What if I told you that while most people his age are worried about college debt, YB is out here making more money in 1 month than most people see in their entire lifetime? I'm talking about a monthly income that's so crazy, it sounds like I'm making it up. But I got all the receipts, homie. See, most people think rappers just make money from music, but nah, fam. Youngboy got this game figured out on a whole different level. He's got 12 different income streams working for him 24/7, and some of these numbers are gonna make you question everything you thought you knew about the music industry. Let me paint you a picture of how this all started, because understanding Youngboy's journey makes these numbers even more insane. This dude was born Kentrell Deshaun Gaulden in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and by the time he was 14, he was already dropping mixtapes. While other kids were playing video games and worrying about homework, Youngboy was in the studio grinding, perfecting his craft, and building the foundation for what would become a multi-million-dollar empire. By 16 years old, and I want y'all to really think about this, when most teenagers are getting their first part-time job at McDonald's making minimum wage, NBA Youngboy had already crossed the millionaire threshold. That's not just talent, that's business acumen, that's understanding the game, and that's having the vision to see opportunities that others miss. But here's what separates Youngboy from every other young artist who gets a quick bag and then disappears. He didn't just make money, he built systems. He created multiple revenue streams that work independently of each other, so even if one stream slows down, the others keep the money flowing. That's the difference between getting rich and staying rich. And that's why at 25, he's not just maintaining his wealth, he's multiplying it every single month. Let me start from the bottom and work our way up to the most insane number. This might surprise y'all, but Youngboy actually makes the least amount of money from social media directly. We're talking about maybe $8,333 a month max from Instagram and TikTok monetization, and sometimes it's literally $0. But here's where it gets crazy. He's not even trying to make money directly from social media. Most influencers are out here posting sponsored content every other day, begging brands to pay them for posts, doing dance challenges for energy drink companies. But Youngboy said, I don't need that type of money. This dude uses his platforms as a funnel to drive people to his music, and that's where the real bag comes from. He's playing chess while everyone else playing. Think about it like this. He could easily make hundreds of thousands monthly from sponsored posts. With his following and engagement, brands would pay him $50,000 to $100,000 per sponsored post. If he did just 4 sponsored posts a month, that's $200,000 to $400,000 monthly. But he chooses not to, because he understands something most people don't: short-term money versus long-term wealth. Instead of cluttering his feed with ads, he keeps his social media authentic and uses it to promote his music, which generates millions in other income streams. When he posts a snippet of a new song on Instagram, that drives millions of people to YouTube and streaming platforms, which generates way more money than any sponsored post ever could. That's some gangsta business moves right there. The indirect value of his social media presence is actually worth millions. Every post he makes has the potential to drive streams, sell merchandise, and build anticipation for tours. So while he's only making $8,333 directly from social media monetization, the ripple effect of his social media activity generates millions across his other income streams. Now this one's interesting, fam, because Youngboy ain't making rental income like some real estate moguls, but he's building wealth through property appreciation, and the numbers are actually pretty impressive when you break them down. Check this out. He bought a $5.5 million house in 2022, then flipped it for $5.9 million in 2024. That's $400,000 profit in just 2 years, which breaks down to about $16,666 a month in equity gains. Now that might not sound like much compared to his other streams, but this is passive wealth building, shorty. While he's sleeping, his properties are making him money. But let me explain why this strategy is actually genius. Most young artists blow their money on depreciating assets, expensive cars, jewelry, clothes, stuff that loses value the moment you buy it. Youngboy is different. He's putting his money into real estate, which historically appreciates over time and provides tax benefits. The house he sold wasn't just any regular house either. We're talking about a luxury property with all the amenities: swimming pools, home studios, security systems, the whole 9 yards. These types of properties in desirable locations tend to appreciate faster than regular homes because there's limited supply and high demand from other wealthy buyers. Here's the really smart part. While he owned that property, he was living in it, so he wasn't paying rent somewhere else. That's money saved. Plus, he was able to deduct property taxes, mortgage interest, and maintenance costs from his taxes. So not only was the property appreciating in value, but it was also providing tax advantages that saved him money on his other income streams. And this is just one property we know about. Word is he owns multiple properties across different states, which means this $16,666 monthly figure might actually be much higher when you factor in all his real estate holdings. The man is building generational wealth through real estate, while most artists his age are still renting. But wait, number 10 is where things start getting spicy. Amazon AMP radio show. Y'all know Youngboy got his own radio show on Amazon's AMP platform? This dude is pulling in anywhere from $8,333 to $25,000 a month just for hosting and collaborating with other artists. And the setup is actually pretty brilliant. Amazon AMP is Amazon's answer to traditional radio, but it's interactive and allows artists to connect directly with their fans in real time. Youngboy's show isn't just him playing music. He's talking to fans, breaking down his creative process, collaborating with other artists live on air, and giving people exclusive content they can't get anywhere else. But here's the real play. It's not just about the hosting money, which could be anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000 annually depending on his contract terms. This show keeps him relevant in the conversation, promotes his music to new audiences, and gives him direct access to his fans without any middleman or filter.
Hello? The
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. I just want you to know that I love you so much.
Thank you. I love you too.
And she do. Oh my God.
Who that is? Who that is?
I love you so much. I wear you out all day, every day. I got clothes, everything, cups, everything with you on it.
I thank you.
The show also allows him to collaborate with other artists in a low-pressure environment. Instead of formal studio sessions that cost money and time, he can bring artists onto his show, create content together, and potentially spark collaborations that lead to hit songs. It's like getting paid to network and create opportunities for future income streams. Plus, Amazon is backing this platform heavy, which means they're investing in making sure it succeeds. Being one of the early adopters and having his own show positions Youngboy to benefit as the platform grows. If Amazon AMP becomes the next big thing in audio content, he'll already be established as one of the major personalities on the platform. Number 9, endorsements and brand deals. Now this is where it gets real, gang. And this number is actually the most interesting one on the whole list because of what it represents. Most artists Youngboy's size would be making millions from endorsements, but he's only pulling in maybe $25,000 a month max from brand deals, and sometimes it's absolutely nothing. Why? Because his legal troubles and controversial image make major brands hesitant to work with him. Nike isn't calling, Pepsi isn't calling, Apple isn't calling. The big corporate sponsors that pay artists millions to be their faces are staying away because they're scared of the controversy that follows Youngboy. But you know what? That's actually respect. He's staying true to himself instead of selling out for corporate money. Let me put this in perspective for you. An artist with Youngboy's reach and influence could easily make $5 million to $10 million annually from endorsements if he played the corporate game. We're talking about deals with major sneaker companies, beverage brands, tech companies, fashion brands, the works. But he's choosing authenticity over easy money, and that's rare in this industry. Here's the crazy part though. If he ever decided to clean up his image and chase endorsements seriously, he could easily add millions to his monthly income overnight. His influence is undeniable, his fan base is loyal, and his reach is massive. But that ain't his style, and honestly, I respect that energy. He's proven you can build a massive empire without compromising your authenticity or begging corporations for approval. Number 8, album sales. Bro, this number is actually insane when you think about it, and it tells the whole story of how the music industry has completely changed. Youngboy only makes about $10,500 a month from actual album sales, physical CDs, vinyl records, and digital downloads combined. Let me break down why this number is so wild. Back in the day, album sales were everything. Artists made their money by selling physical copies of their albums, and the biggest artists were moving millions of units. Michael Jackson's Thriller sold over 66 million copies worldwide. But today, even the biggest artists struggle to sell 100,000 physical copies in their first week. This just shows you how the music industry has completely changed, fam. Everyone's streaming now. Nobody's buying albums like they used to. Kids today don't even know what a CD is. They're not going to Target to buy physical albums. They're opening Spotify or Apple Music and streaming everything. But here's the crazy part. Youngboy doesn't even care about album sales because he's making millions from streaming instead. While older artists are still trying to figure out how to adapt to the streaming era, Youngboy was born into it. The $10,500 from album sales is basically just bonus money at this point. It's not even a significant part of his income strategy, but it shows that he's still capturing every possible revenue stream, even the small ones. Every dollar counts when you're building an empire. And number 7, NBA label income. Now we're getting into the real money. Youngboy's got his own label, Never Broke Again, and it's pulling in $41,666 to $83,333 every single month. And this is where you can really see his business mind at work. Here's how this works, and it's actually genius. Youngboy signs other artists to his NBA label, and every time those artists make money, he gets a percentage. It's like having employees who generate income for you 24/7. He handles their distribution deals, takes care of their marketing, provides them with resources and connections, and in return, he gets a cut of everything they earn. But it's not just about signing random artists. Youngboy is strategic about who he brings into the NBA family. He's looking for artists who fit the brand, who have talent, and who can contribute to the overall success of the label. When he signs an artist, he's not just giving them a record deal. He's bringing them into a movement. The revenue streams from the label are diverse too. There's the percentage he takes from his artists' streaming revenue, touring income, merchandise sales, and publishing royalties. Then there are the distribution deals where NBA acts as a middleman between artists and major distributors, taking a cut of every transaction. Plus, he owns publishing rights to songs created by NBA artists, which means he gets paid every time those songs are played, performed, or licensed. And this is just the beginning, fam. As his label grows and signs more talent, this income stream is gonna explode. Right now, NBA might have a handful of artists, but imagine when they have 20 or 30 artists all generating income. Each new artist adds to the monthly revenue, and successful artists can generate millions annually. Number 6 is where the money starts getting stupid. When other artists want Youngboy on their track, they gotta pay heavy. This man charges $200,000 to $300,000 per feature, and artists are lining up to pay it because they know what happens when Youngboy blesses their track. Let me break this down for you in detail. If he does just 6 features a year at $150,000 each, that's $900,000 annually, which breaks down to $75,000 a month. But if he's really active and does 12 features at $250,000 each, that's $3 million a year or $250,000 a month. The conservative estimate puts him at $41,666 to $83,333 monthly. Now you might be thinking, why would artists pay that much for a feature? Let me explain the value proposition. When Youngboy hops on a track, he brings his massive fan base with him. We're talking about millions of loyal fans who will stream, share, and support anything he's on. That feature isn't just a verse, it's access to one of the most dedicated fan bases in hip-hop. But here's what makes Youngboy's feature game even more valuable. He's selective about what he jumps on. He's not doing features with just anybody who can pay his rate. He chooses collaborations that make sense artistically and strategically. This selectivity actually increases his value because when he does do a feature, people know it's going to be special. The feature money is also guaranteed income. Unlike streaming or touring, which can fluctuate based on various factors, feature money is paid up front. Plus, features often lead to other opportunities. A successful collaboration might lead to a joint tour, additional features, or even business partnerships outside of music. It's networking that pays immediately and creates long-term value. 5. Merchandise sales. The Never Broke Again brand is moving. Fam. Youngboy's merch game is pulling in $83,333 to $166,666 every single month. And the way he's built this revenue stream is actually a masterclass in brand building. Here's what's crazy. Every time he drops new merch, that stuff sells out in hours. We're talking hoodies, t-shirts, hats, limited edition drops, and his fans are buying everything. But this isn't just random merchandise with his name slapped on it. Youngboy has created a lifestyle brand around Never Broke Again that represents more than just music. A hoodie that costs $15 to produce can sell for $60 to $80. A t-shirt that costs $5 to make can sell for $30 to $40. When you're moving thousands of units every month, those profit margins add up fast. But here's the really smart part. Youngboy has turned his brand into a money printing machine that works independently of his music releases. Even when he's not dropping new songs, fans are still buying NBA merchandise because the brand has its own identity and appeal. 4. Publishing royalties. Now, this is the type of money that keeps coming whether Youngboy is working or not. Publishing royalties are pulling in $141,666 every single month, and this might be the most underrated income stream on the entire list. Let me explain this for y'all because most people don't understand how publishing works, but it's actually the secret to long-term wealth in the music industry. Every time one of his songs gets played on the radio, performed live, used in a movie or TV show, streamed on any platform, or even covered by another artist, Youngboy gets paid. This is separate from streaming money. This is for the actual composition of the song, the lyrics, the melody, the musical arrangement. This money comes through multiple sources. There's ASCAP and BMI, which are performing rights organizations that collect money every time his songs are played publicly. There are mechanical royalties, which are paid every time his songs are reproduced or distributed. There's sync licensing, which is when his music is used in movies, TV shows, commercials, or video games. Here's what makes this income stream so powerful. It's completely passive and it lasts for decades. Songs he wrote years ago are still paying him today, and they'll continue paying him for the rest of his life and even beyond to his estate. It's like having a money tree that never stops growing. The $141,666 monthly figure comes from an estimated $1.7 million annually in publishing royalties, but this number is probably conservative. With the volume of music Youngboy has released and the billions of streams his songs generate, his actual publishing income could be much higher. And here's the really crazy part. Publishing royalties often increase over time. As his older songs become classics and continue to be discovered by new fans, they generate more plays and more royalties. Songs that might have generated $1,000 monthly in publishing when they first came out could be generating $5,000 or $10,000 monthly years later. This is why smart artists focus on owning their publishing rights. Youngboy understands that while the upfront money from selling publishing might be tempting, the long-term income from keeping those rights is worth millions more over time. But wait until you hear number 3. Touring and live performances. Gang, this is where it gets absolutely insane. When Youngboy is free to tour, he can make up to $5.8 million in a single month. But this income stream is also the most unpredictable and tells a crazy story about how legal issues can cost millions. His 2025 tour grossed $70 million total over 12 months. That's $5.83 million per month when he's actively touring. Per show, this man is pulling in $100,000 to $150,000. If he's doing 2 shows a week, that's $800,000 to $1.2 million monthly just from live performances. But here's where it gets complicated and shows you how much money legal troubles can cost. When Youngboy is on house arrest or dealing with legal restrictions, he literally cannot tour at all. That means this massive income stream drops to zero. We're talking about millions of dollars in lost income every month he can't perform. Let me put this in perspective. If Youngboy could tour consistently without legal interruptions, he could potentially make $60 million to $70 million annually just from live performances. That's more than most artists make from all their income streams combined. But because of his legal situation, he might only be able to tour 6 months out of the year, cutting that potential income in half. The demand for Youngboy's live performances is absolutely insane. When tour dates are announced, tickets sell out in minutes. Venues are willing to pay premium rates because they know he'll pack the house and generate massive revenue from ticket sales, concessions, and merchandise. Number 2 is gonna make your head spin. Spotify and Apple Music streaming. Streaming money is where Youngboy really shows his dominance in the modern music industry. This dude is making $666,666 to $833,333 every single month just from Spotify and Apple Music, and the way he's mastered the streaming game is absolutely incredible. Let me break this down for you in detail, fam. Apple Music is giving him $326,666 to $408,333 monthly. That's 49% of his total streaming revenue. The reason Apple Music pays so much more per stream is because they pay artists 7 cents to 1 cent per stream, compared to Spotify's 3 cents to 4 cents per stream. So even though Spotify has more total users, Apple Music's higher payout rate makes it incredibly valuable for high-volume artists like Youngboy. Spotify, where he's the number 5 most streamed artist with 6.2+ billion total plays, is paying him $233,333 to $291,666 monthly. Think about that for a second. He's consistently one of the top 5 most streamed artists on the biggest music platform in the world. Other platforms like Tidal, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and smaller streaming services add another $106,666 to $133,333 monthly to his streaming income. Even the smaller platforms add up when you're generating billions of streams. The math behind these numbers is simple, but the execution is genius. With billions of streams across all platforms, even small per-stream payouts add up to massive monthly income. But here's what separates Youngboy from other artists: consistency and volume. While most artists drop an album once a year and maybe a few singles, Youngboy is constantly releasing new music. He's dropping mixtapes, albums, singles, collaborations, and even freestyles on a regular basis. This constant content creation keeps him relevant in the streaming algorithms and gives fans new reasons to keep coming back to his music. The streaming algorithms also favor artists who can keep listeners engaged for longer periods. Youngboy's catalog is so deep that fans can listen for hours without hearing the same song twice. This increases his total streaming time, which the platforms reward with better playlist placements and recommendations. But here's the really smart part. Youngboy has figured out how to make his older music continue generating streams alongside his new releases. When he drops a new song, it often drives fans back to his older catalog, creating a compound effect where new releases boost the performance of his entire discography. The geographic reach of streaming also means Youngboy is making money from fans all over the world, 24 hours a day. While he's sleeping, fans in different time zones are streaming his music and generating income. It's truly passive income that works around the clock. And number 1, bro, this is absolutely ridiculous. YouTube ad revenue. Gang, NBA Youngboy is making $1.2 to $1.4 million every single month just from YouTube ad revenue. Let me say that again, $1.4 million. Here's the breakdown that's gonna blow your mind. DJ Academics reported that Youngboy gets 292 million views per month on YouTube. That's not total views across his career, that's monthly views. To put that in perspective, that's almost 10 million views per day, every single day of the month. YouTube pays creators $3 to $5 per 1,000 views through their ad revenue sharing program. So let's do the math. 292 million views divided by 1,000 equals 292,000 units. Multiply that by the average payout of $4.50 per 1,000 views, and you get $1,314,000 per month. That's $16.8 million annually just from YouTube ad revenue. But here's what makes this even more incredible. Youngboy is regularly the #1 most watched rapper on YouTube, and sometimes he beats artists like Drake and Taylor Swift in monthly views. We're talking about competing with the biggest names in all of music, not just hip-hop, and consistently winning. The secret to his YouTube success is his release strategy. While other artists drop a music video once a month or even less frequently, Youngboy is dropping multiple videos every single week. He's treating YouTube like a TV channel, constantly feeding the algorithm with fresh content that keeps viewers engaged and coming back for more. He's got 13+ billion total views across all his videos on YouTube. That's billion with a B. To put that in perspective, that's more views than the population of Earth. His most popular videos have hundreds of millions of views each, and even his lesser-known tracks regularly hit tens of millions of views. The consistency is what sets him apart. Other artists might have 1 or 2 viral videos that generate massive views, but then they disappear for months. Youngboy maintains a constant presence on the platform, which keeps him in the algorithm's favor and ensures steady, predictable income. Now, he doesn't keep 100% of that $1.4 million because his record labels Atlantic Records and Motown get their contractual cut. But even if he only keeps 70% of the YouTube revenue, that's still almost $1 million monthly from YouTube alone. And that percentage percentage might be even higher depending on how his contracts are structured and whether he's been able to renegotiate better terms as his success has grown. The YouTube income is also completely scalable. The more videos he uploads and the more views he generates, the more money he makes. There's no cap on this income stream. If he could somehow double his monthly views to 600 million, his monthly income would double to almost $3 million. But here's the really crazy part. This YouTube income is mostly passive once the videos are uploaded. Videos he posted years ago are still generating views and ad revenue today. His catalog of content continues to work for him 24/7, generating income while he sleeps, while he's in the studio, while he's dealing with legal issues, no matter what else is going on in his life. So let me add this up for y'all, because when you see all these numbers together, it's absolutely mind-blowing. At the low end, Youngboy is making YouTube ad revenue of $1.2 million, streaming income of $666,666, touring income when active of $500,000, publishing royalties of $141,666, merchandise sales of $83,333, feature income of $41,666, and NBA label income of $41,666. That's over $2.6 million per month at the conservative estimate. At the high end, we're looking at YouTube revenue of $1.4 million, streaming income of $833,333, touring income when fully active of $5.8 million, publishing royalties of $141,666, merchandise sales of $166,666, feature income of $83,333, and NBA label income of $83,333. That's over $8.5 million per month when everything's firing on all cylinders. And remember, this young king is only 25 years old. He became a millionaire at 16, and now he's built a $500 million empire with multiple income streams that work for him 24/7, even when he's sleeping, even when he's dealing with legal issues, even when he can't tour. The craziest part? Most of this money is passive. His YouTube videos from years ago are still making him money today. His old songs are still streaming millions of times monthly. His publishing royalties keep coming in whether he's working or sleeping. His merchandise continues to sell. His label artists continue to generate income that he gets a cut of. This is what generational wealth looks like. This is how you build an empire that lasts beyond just your music career. Youngboy has created a system of income streams that will continue generating money for decades to come, and he did it all before his 26th birthday. If you want more breakdowns of how your favorite artists are really making their money, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I got more content coming that's gonna blow your mind. Next week, we're breaking down how Drake makes $15 million a month, and the numbers are even more insane than Youngboy's. I'll catch y'all in the next one, and remember, stay on that timing, secure your bag, and never broke again. Peace out, fam.